morning. I will now call the regular meeting of the March 3rd, 2021 land use meeting to order. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that all 5 supervisors are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. Additionally, before we begin, any members of the public that wish to provide oral testimony during today's meeting, please review the instructions posted on the Clerk of the Board's webpage. I will remind members of the public that have requested to speak to wait to dial into the meeting until the item is called. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Anderson?
Here.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Here.
Supervisor Desmond?
Here.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas here.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher here. The first item on the order of business is a report of the actions taken yesterday in closed session. I'll ask County Council to report the actions.
The Board of Supervisors met in closed session starting at 3:42 p.m. and adjourning at 5:55 p.m. The Board took the following reportable actions. Item 26C, David Collins, v. County of San Diego, et al. With all 5 board members voting aye, authorize County Council to file a petition for rehearing with the California Court of Appeal in this case involving the arrest and detention of an individual who was suspected of being drunk in public. Item 26I, anticipated litigation, RE Alpine Armoring, Inc. With all 5 board members voting aye, authorize County Council to settle this claim alleging breach of contract arising out of the county's purchase of a vehicle with protective armor for $30,000. Item 26N, William Prorock v. County of San Diego. With all 5 board members voting aye, authorize County Council to accept $8,000 to settle this lawsuit alleging that a landlord rented his property to an illegal marijuana dispensary. Item 26O, County of San Diego v. Di Lorenzo International, Inc., et al. With all 5 board members voting aye, authorize County Council to accept $150,000 from ABC Construction Company to settle this lawsuit alleging that ABC failed to properly convert sports fields from natural grass to artificial turf at a county park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is non-agendized public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Supervisors on subject matters within our jurisdiction but are not on today's agenda. The only action that the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Let me ask our clerk if we have requests for non-agendized public comment.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Yes, we have 4 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. Any members of the public that have requested to speak during non-agenda public communication, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record, and you will have 2 minutes to address the board. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I would remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Erin, if you could please identify the first caller.
Thank you. Our first caller is 4974. 4974.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and Board. This is Michelle Krug. Just a request, if it's possible, because my vision is limited and it's always challenging to make these calls, but your staff has been great at being supportive, especially your clerk, Andrew Potter, and Grace in his office, and Ryan Trabuco in Nora Vargas's office. I really do appreciate their efforts. And if it's possible to make it a static number where it doesn't change every single day for the call-in, that would really be helpful. It just is challenging to have to memorize the ID number and get it put in. I'm grateful you don't use a password, but if it's possible, like the city of San Diego has now started using Zoom and they are using a static link and a static number for the call-in. So just if it's possible, it would be very much appreciated. Thank you for all of your work.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1925. 1925.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Rita Clement,
and I reside in District 1 in Chula Vista. I'm a volunteer with San Diego 350 and a member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. I reside in a high wildfire risk zone. We do not want to encourage building in our spaces far from the job centers. I urge you to implement Senate Bill 743 in a way that protects my neighbors in the county of San Diego. We are asking you to encourage infill housing development near transit, protect our natural and working lands, make sure implementation is consistent with California state law, and do not build so that there are skyrocketing transportation emissions. Help us to use the solutions to the climate crisis that exists right now. We understand the Building Industry Association wants to build on land that is less expensive. However, we also want to breathe cleaner air. We cannot do both unless we protect our open spaces and encourage the building of affordable infill housing near transit. Please do this for our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8046. 8046.
Good morning, supervisors. This is Noah Harris with Climate Action Campaign, calling this morning to reemphasize the vital connection between land use decisions, housing, and climate action. I want to also emphasize that pursuing sprawl projects in high wildfire risk zones is dangerous for San Diego families, and these developments lead to skyrocketing transportation emissions and threats to our natural and working lands, making it essentially impossible to stop the climate crisis. This board must work to secure an adequate supply of affordable housing and all housing, especially near jobs and transit, to increase access to sustainable travel options and proximity to our families' basic needs. We look forward to working with the Board of Supervisors on SB 743 implementation in a way that is consistent with our region's housing goals and our region's climate goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4592. 4592.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Kathleen Lippett. I'd like to suggest that whenever the board promotes any ordinance that involves taxpayer money, that they also do a robust tax benefit analysis, as well as making sure that any of their county representatives, when they speak, that they actually have accurate information to provide to the public that has been verified. That has not been true. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on non-agenda public comment. Chair Fletcher.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the minute statement of proceedings for the meeting of Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Chair Vargas, seconded by Supervisor Anderson. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll now proceed with the formation of the consent calendar. I will ask the clerk if there are any items that the public wishes to be pulled for discussion.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Item 1 has been pulled by the public. Item 2 has been pulled by the public, and I will also note that there is a request from staff to continue this item to the March 17th, 2021 meeting. Item 3 has been pulled by the public. Item 4 has been withdrawn at the request of Supervisor Lawson-Remer and Vice Chair Vargas. Item 6 has been pulled by the public. Item 8 has been pulled by the public, and I will also note that staff will be requesting the board continue this item as well. Item 10 has been pulled by the public, and item 11 has been pulled by the public. All the remaining items on the Board of Supervisors agenda may be placed in the consent calendar for your board's consideration.
Thank you. I'll now go to my colleague Supervisor Anderson. Are there any items you wish to be pulled?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
No, thank you very much.
Supervisor Desmond?
No, none to pull, and I'll make a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. Vice Chair Vargas?
None to pull, and I'm happy to second.
All right, there is a motion by Supervisor Desmond, a second by Supervisor Vargas for approval of the consent calendar. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson? Supervisor Anderson?
Aye, sorry.
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll now proceed through our agenda. We'll start with agenda item 1, notice public hearing, Smilax Townhome Project General Plan Amendment, Zone Reclassification, Tentative Map, Site Map, and Environmental Document. We will hear first a staff presentation on this item. Then we will go to public comment, including group presentations on this item. And then we will return after that for board deliberation. So at this point, let me turn it to staff for their presentation.
Before the staff presentation begins, any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item, please dial in the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. You will be muted until it is your turn to speak. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and Supervisors. I'm Jessica Madamba with the Planning and Development Services. Today, Ashley Smith and I will be presenting on item number 1, which is the Smilax Townhome Project. The 4.9-acre project site is located in the North County Metropolitan Subregional Plan area. The site is bounded by Smilax Road to the east, which is located within the city of San Marcos, and Poinsettia Avenue to the west. State Route 78 is located north of the site, and the city of Vista is located to the southwest. The project site is located within an existing residential neighborhood with single-family homes to the north and south, an apartment complex with 138 units to the east, and the Jolie Ann Lytech Elementary School located to the west. There are also commercial and industrial uses, retail shopping centers, and similar multifamily homes located within 1 mile of the project site. The project is located near public transit, including bus service and the Sprinter Light Rail line that runs along the Highway 78 corridor and connects Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido. The North County Transit District Breeze and Metropolitan Transit Service have bus stops located a half a mile from the project site. The Sprinter Hybrid Rail Train Buena Creek Station is located 1.3 miles from the site, and the Palomar College Sprinter Station is located 2 miles from the site. The project is a request to change the density and zoning of the property to allow 62 townhomes. The development includes 2 open space areas, 6 internal private roads, and an on-site stormwater quality basin. A total of 15 separate townhomes are proposed. The project includes sustainable design features such as using 100% electricity with no natural gas installed, installing solar panels for each individual home, providing electric vehicle charging stations in each garage and 2 EV charging spaces for guests, Energy Star certified appliances, and on-site storage and collection of recyclables and green waste. The solar panel system will produce a greater amount of electricity than the estimated amount of electricity used by the homes. By eliminating all natural gas consumption and generating more electricity through solar panels than would be consumed, the proposed homes will be zero net energy.
A vehicle miles traveled, or VMT assessment, was prepared and concluded that the project site has an average VMT per resident of 20.91 miles. The threshold to determine a VMT efficient area is 15% below the unincorporated average, which is 27.66 miles per resident. Therefore, the project has a less than significant transportation impact. If the board does not agree with the unincorporated VMT average threshold, the board could send the project back to staff to evaluate the VMT impacts using a different threshold, such as 15% below a regional average. Under CEQA, the board has discretion to use a project-specific threshold if compliance with that threshold means the project's impacts are less than significant. If the application of a project-specific threshold shows significant impacts, further CEQA review may be required. The county's new transportation guidelines also include a local mobility analysis, or LMA, to assess the traffic a project will add to the surrounding road network and whether any road improvements are required. The LMA involves a level of service, or LOS, analysis to evaluate how nearby roads and intersections operate with and without the addition of project traffic. LOS grades A through F are given based on how long each vehicle has to wait during the peak periods commonly referred to as morning or afternoon rush hour. County guidelines state that LOS A through D are acceptable, and if a project causes a road or intersection to fall to LOS E or F, an improvement would be required. For intersections that are already operating at LOS E or F, and the project causes a delay to increase by 5 seconds or more, then an improvement is required. The LMA analyzed 2 intersections, Smilax and Oleander and Poinsettia. Smilax and Oleander is currently LOS C in the morning and D in the afternoon. With the addition of project traffic, the LOS does not change and remains acceptable. The intersection of Smilax and Oleander currently operates at LOS E in the morning and F in the afternoon, both unacceptable. However, the project does not result in an impact at the intersection because it does not increase the delay by 5 seconds or more. Based on case law, local jurisdictions cannot require projects to resolve existing deficiencies such as traffic congestion unless there is a nexus or relationship to the impacts caused by the project. The county is prohibited from requiring the project to resolve the existing traffic congestion at the intersection because there is no documented nexus to the project's impacts based on county guidelines. Concerns were also received from community members regarding the amount of parking provided by the project. The project requires 144 parking spaces. A total of 154 parking spaces are provided. 23 guest parking spaces will be provided along internal roads, and 5 guest spaces will be provided along Smilax Road. Per county parking requirements, up to 1/3 of guest parking spaces are allowed along an adjacent public road. This allows 5 guest parking spaces along Smilax Road, with 2 additional spaces not counted towards the project. To address concerns raised about using garages as storage areas instead of for parking, a condition has been added to require the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, or CC&Rs, to require each homeowner to park 2 cars in their garage. As a result, the project would provide sufficient parking on site for future residents and guests. The greenhouse gas, or GHG, emissions from the project were analyzed using a project-specific efficiency metric compliant with state GHG reduction goals outlined in Senate Bill 32. The efficiency metric identifies the amount of GHG emissions generated per resident per year. The efficiency threshold was developed using local data from the county's GHG emissions inventory and forecast and population projections from the San Diego Association of Governments. Consistent with GHG reduction targets of
I put it in the laundry.
A project would not result in a significant impact if it would generate GHG emissions below 3.5 metric tons of GHG emissions per person. After factoring in the project's 11 sustainable features, the analysis determined the project would result in 2.2 metric tons of GHG emissions per person, which is below the threshold and would not result in a significant cumulative impact. If the board does not agree that the project will not have a significant GHG impact using an efficiency metric, the board could send the project back to staff to evaluate the GHG impacts using a different methodology or threshold. The mitigated negative declaration was prepared and made available for a 45-day public review period from August 27th to October 12th, 2020. Mitigation measures for biological, agricultural, and geology and soils were required and are included in the conditions of approval for the project. 18 letters were received during the public review period. Of the letters received, 1 was in support of the proposed project, 15 were in opposition, and 2 requested additional information. Staff prepared responses to each comment, and issues raised are located in attachment G of the board letter. The project is located in the North County Metropolitan Subregional Plan area, which is not represented by a community planning or sponsor group. Due to the absence of a community planning or sponsor group, a community meeting was held on February 27, 2020, with the applicant and county staff. The purpose of the meeting was to allow those interested in the project to ask questions, express their concerns, and make suggestions. Concerns raised at the meeting included traffic, parking, and increased density. A list of 16 people were added to the MND and Planning Commission hearing notification lists. On November 13th, 2020, the Planning Commission voted 5-1 with one recused to recommend approval of the project to the Board of Supervisors as presented today. In response to the issues raised by neighbors during the Planning Commission hearing, staff held a meeting with the community on January 6, 2021, with property owners to walk them through the changes made to the project, including parking and traffic safety. At the meeting, the community informed staff that a notice of the permit application was not posted on the property. On January 8, 2021, the applicant posted a notice on the property. PDS requires a notice to be posted when an application is submitted. The posting on January 8th does comply with state law, which is required to be posted a minimum of 10 days prior to the board hearing. PDS has revised the notice process to require photos from applicants to confirm that notice has been posted at the property when an application is submitted. Notice of today's hearing was sent to 560 property owners, which includes all property owners within 1,500 feet of the site. The noticing was consistent with County Code, Board Policy I-49, and state law. A third community meeting was held on February 26, 2021, to respond to additional comments and questions raised by neighbors regarding stormwater and traffic concerns. The Smilax project will provide 62 homes near residential development, commercial uses, public transportation, and major roads. In addition, the project will improve Smilax Road with a left turn lane, street widening, and traffic calming measures. The project also includes sustainability features, including net zero homes. Project impacts have been mitigated to the extent feasible, and CEQA findings have been prepared. As such, the department concurs with the Planning Commission and recommends that your board approve the project as presented and take the following actions. Adopt the General Plan Amendment Resolution, the Zone Reclassification Ordinance, the Tentative Map Resolution, the Form of Decision Site Plan, and require the applicant to enter into an agreement to defend and indemnify the county in accordance with County Code Section 86.201 in the amount of $500,000 and authorize the Director of PDS to execute the agreement. The board can approve the project with modifications, deny the project, or send the project back to staff for additional analysis and/or reconsideration, including any additional direction from the board. If the board chooses to deny the project, the board should direct staff to prepare written findings to deny the project and return to the board for consideration. Public correspondence has been received in advance of today's hearing. It has been reviewed by staff and does not raise any new issues that have not been considered in the evaluation of the project or CEQA analysis. This concludes the presentation, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Why don't we go to our public speakers? Let's hear from the presenters and the public speakers, and then we'll come back and have plenty of time for staff or board member questions or comments. Let me ask the clerk to call forward our speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I also note for the record that we received 66 comments on this item. We have 21 individuals that have requested to speak on this item and 2 group presentations. Any members of the public that requested to speak on this item, again, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You will hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. Then the callers will need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record. And for the groups, you will have 15 minutes for your presentation. For the individuals, you will have 2 minutes to address the board. You'll hear the sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I would remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And we will begin with the applicants group presentation. So Erin, if you could please identify the applicant group.
Yes, we'll unmute 6957 to introduce the applicants, and then we'll play your video. So 6957. You'll need to press *6 to unmute yourself. #6957, if you could please press *6. We'd like you to introduce the video, and then we can play the video. We've also got 3751 from the applicants group. Perhaps either 3751 or 6957 could introduce the video.
Hello, this is John Abood, Vice President of Land Acquisition with KB Home.
Hi there.
And on behalf of the applicant, we have prepared a video for the board this morning that we would like to share.
Great, we'll play that now. Thank you.
Good day, Chairman Fletcher and supervisors. My name is Steve Ruffner, President and Regional Manager of KB Home Coastal. Today, we are here to present a new 62-home neighborhood to be built on Smilex Road. We are excited to announce that these homes will offer the opportunity for young families to buy their first home. This project has taken some time to put together. We used our commitment to sustainability to create a community that will be low on greenhouse gas impacts, and through the use of renewable solar energy, we create a very low cost of ownership for our future home buyers. You will hear from two members of our distinguished team, Mr. John Abood, Vice President of KB Home, who will present the overall community details, and Ms. Sally Schiffman, our supervising land planner, who completed the MMD and who has worked tirelessly integrating the input from local community residents and business owners into our plan. The balance of our team will be available at the end of the presentation to answer questions. For more than 60 years, KB Home has been proud to offer communities like Smilex that offer home buying opportunities to first-time homeowners, families, veterans, and move-down buyers. For 33 years, I have had the pleasure of working for KB Homes and building in the County of San Diego. We are currently offering homes for sale in San Marcos, Escondido, Valley Center, Spring Valley, and soon in Oceanside. The homes we are proposing today will be ENERGY STAR certified and qualify as WaterWise under the EPA's WaterSense program. KB Home's commitment to attainable and sustainable communities has always created opportunities for first-time buyers to build home equity that creates an economic foundation for social equality. Our product and pricing positioning that supports entry-level working families benefits the essential workforce and allows all first-time buyers the opportunity to buy their first home. We have dedicated ourselves to making this community as sustainable and renewable as possible. This community will offer 620 solar panels. It will reduce ownership costs to $42 a month or less. And every single home will be EV ready with a plug-in charger in every garage. Our community is transit oriented and by design close to public transportation, schools, retail, and employment centers. We have aligned ourselves for long-term improvements to the greenhouse gas targets that the county has proposed. This community will only provide 2.1 metric tons of greenhouse gas per person. That's 25 years ahead of the state's long-term GHG targets. The vehicle miles traveled will be 24% below the county average today. At this time, I'd like to turn it over and introduce Mr. John Abood, our Vice President of KB Home Coastal.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, Chairman Fletcher and board. My name is John Abood, Vice President of Land Acquisition for KB Home Coastal. I would like to take a moment to thank the county staff for all of their time and effort during the planning process, particularly given the conditions of the current pandemic. As developable land becomes increasingly scarce in many of the county's fastest growing areas, we have worked hard to include redevelopment of older neighborhoods with new homes as a tenet of our sustainability platform. Infill development allows KB Home to focus on affordability for our core first-time and first-time move-up homebuyers. Building in proximity to job centers and public transportation shortens commutes and reduces emissions. Infill development also offers residents with ties to the community the opportunity to move up in a new home in a neighborhood they love. As we all know, San Diego County is experiencing a housing crisis. This project helps to address the housing needs of the county without contributing to sprawl in the more rural areas of the region. The project's location within the village designation provides a targeted area within the county to accommodate increased density to meet housing needs. allowing for more affordable price points that provide an attainable housing option for young families, essential workers like police officers, teachers, and nurses, as well as seniors looking to downsize. The project would provide 62 units on a 4.9 acre property, resulting in an overall density of 12.6 units per acre. After meeting with the local neighbors, it was clear that attention to parking, traffic, safety, and overall impact was important. The team worked with the county staff to design a plan consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the county while remaining compatible with the surrounding area and addressing many of the neighbors' concerns or questions. We worked to create a site design that provides more parking than required. There will be 154 parking spaces on site, which is 24 spaces more than required. Each townhome will have a 2-car side-by-side garage. There will be 30 guest parking spaces, which will require guest parking passes issued by the HOA. The HOA will also be responsible for enforcing the community CC&Rs, requiring residents to park their vehicles within their garages. The project also includes fenced private backyards, and we will include nearly 7,000 square feet of recreational open space, which will include a children's playground along with picnic and barbecue areas. There will be a fenced dog park area, and the stormwater basin will also be landscaped. The project aggressively incorporated design features to reduce GHG emissions to achieve an extremely efficient 2.1 metric tons CO2 efficiency level, which meets the state's 2050 goal. Some of these design features include 100% electric energy, 124 trees planted on site, level 2 EV chargers in every home, and 2 level 2 EV chargers in guest parking areas. 3.4 kilowatt solar system will be included standard with each home, totaling 620 solar panels within the community. The project's site proximity to local schools, employment, and transportation will result in shorter trip lengths, which result in much lower vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, as compared to other more rural areas of the county. We will generate about 496 daily trips. Local neighbors were concerned about the traffic impact on adjacent streets, primarily Mimosa Avenue. The traffic analysis conducted per the county guidelines concludes that the project has no significant impact on the surrounding streets. There is no additional traffic mitigation warranted by the county guidelines. The townhomes would range from 1,679 square feet to 1,918 square feet. Every home will include a 2-car garage, 3 bedrooms on the second floor, and spacious home floor plans on the ground level. Each townhome will have a fenced private backyard, ranging in size depending on location. Each home will include a 3.4 kilowatt solar system and will be all electric. Each home will also include the level 2 EV charger, which I mentioned, and these features that are all included will reduce monthly energy expenses to less than $42 a month, a 75% reduction from the estimated expenses of a comparable resale home. I will now turn it over to Sally Schiffman, our supervising environmental planner.
Hello, I'm Sally Schiffman, supervising environmental planner and program manager with Rincon Consultants. While I speak with you today, we will be showing a video rendering of the proposed new community, as well as a video of a recently finished project, Sierra Townhomes in the city of Vista. While this area does not have a formal planning group, KB Home did host a new community review meeting in February of this year, offering the neighborhood an opportunity to see the project plans and voice their opinion of the project. Community concerns included topics such as parking, pedestrian safety, site access, and environmental impacts. A series of technical assessments were undertaken to analyze the potential environmental impacts of this project. The mitigated negative declaration determined that the project either will not impact the environment or environmental impacts can be mitigated to less than significant levels. To support the project, a land use and community character analysis was prepared. The analysis demonstrated the project's consistency with the goals, policies, and objectives of all pertinent county plans. The project site is in close proximity to similar land uses, including multifamily residential and mobile home park land uses less than a mile and as close as 600 feet of the project site. There are also numerous supported land uses that can be utilized by project residents, including an elementary school, a middle school and high school, retail centers, and light industrial business parks, all within 2 miles of the development site. There's also a bus stop approximately half a mile to the north and 2 Sprinter stations nearby as well. The project's proximity to these destinations will result in shorter vehicular trip lengths and therefore lower vehicle miles traveled as compared to other more rural areas of the county. And again, the project is conditioned to participate in SANDAG's iCommute program, which will encourage residents to better use the nearby transit and carpooling opportunities. Regarding pedestrian safety, a stop sign will be installed at the project driveway in order to control traffic exiting the development and to protect pedestrians, including school children who may be utilizing the existing sidewalk. The project intersection with Smilax Road meets all applicable traffic safety regulations, including sight distance requirements. And when approaching the project from the south, there will be a dedicated left turn lane to allow automobiles to slow down safely in order to turn into the site. There will be an emergency access only gate at the southwest corner of the project, providing for fire access along poinsettia. No resident vehicular or pedestrian access will be permitted through that gate. Similar to the Sierra Townhomes project in Vista, architecture would be Spanish colonial and would include concrete S red tiled roofs, exposed wood fascia on the roof edges, vinyl window systems, decorative clay pipes along the main second floor windows, light brown, tan, or white stucco over foam trim for the building exteriors, composite entry doors, and dark brown or white sectional garage doors. This design concept is consistent with typical and historical designs in the surrounding project area. Setbacks have been designed in accordance with county zoning requirements, and open areas such as the bioretention basin, tot lot, and perimeter landscaping create a large buffer between the project structures and existing surrounding homes. Landscaping will include 124 new trees and would create an aesthetically pleasing addition to the project area. Each unit also includes private backyard space with 6-foot vinyl fences. This use of landscaping, setbacks, and open areas soften the exterior appearance and project mass to be consistent with the existing community character. Thank you, and now I'll turn it back over for concluding statements.
Thank you, Sally and John. I would like to personally thank the Board of Supervisors for allowing us to present our plan today. At KB Home, we focused on our Smilax community to make sure that we allow enough parking and we actually exceed the San Diego County requirements for parking. We added a middle turn lane on Smilax Road to promote traffic safety. We are participating in SANDAG's iCommute program to promote transit and ride sharing among the residents. And we focused on the housing crisis by providing 62 multifamily homes on a lot that is currently zoned for only 9 large single-family homes. Our homes are extremely energy efficient and will operate under $42 a month. The San Diego General Plan encourages diversification near business and transit centers. That is why we focus on buying land in this area. We are close to all of those centers. And by that, we're able to focus on renewable energy that lowers our greenhouse gas and our vehicle miles traveled. We will limit our landfill waste through the prefabrication of our framing, and we recycle all our extra building materials. At this time, we'll be available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
The applicant has about a minute remaining if any of those speakers would like to have any final comments.
Yes, this is
We
John
don't have any
Booth.
further comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Next, we'll turn to the organized presentation in opposition to the project. So we have 3 speakers, and then they'll introduce their presentation. So we have 6906, 11 1601 and 6098.
Hello,
Yes,
this
hello,
is Belle Hazelhurst, and we represent the thousands of neighbors that live here in this area. We have a pre-recorded 15-minute presentation for you, and we just want to alert you to the fact that we have over 500 signatures now on our opposition sign up that we have sent to you. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll play the presentation now.
Hi, my name is Belle Hazelhurst. My neighbors Garth Robbins and Maureen Hudson will also be presenting. We represent thousands of local residents that would be impacted by this proposed zoning change from low to high density. The majority of us didn't find out about this proposed project until just shortly before the November 13th Planning Commission meeting. So we haven't had time to establish a community planning group to represent us, and we've had to scramble to educate ourselves and alert our neighbors. There was no public signage posted until just a few weeks ago, and it's hardly visible. Hundreds of residents in our community signed on to the petition submitted to you opposing this project's proposed zoning changes. This is not the place for this project. I'd first like to explain to you about our neighborhood from our perspective as residents who have lived here for decades. This is the proposed project site. We live in a valley, our borders being Highway 78 to the north, Sycamore Avenue, a large arterial to our west, Rancho Santa Fe Avenue, a large arterial to the east, and La Mirada to the south, where large business parks have been built out. We are comprised of over 500 mainly owner-occupied single-family homes on large lots with the general plan zoning designated as low density. Smilax Road, Poinsettia Avenue, and Oleander Avenue are the three neighborhood access roads for everyone in our valley, which were not built for this load of traffic. Mimosa Avenue is another tiny road that is often used as a shortcut for drivers and is not even included in the traffic reports. These roads are narrow, two-lane country roads. The existing capacity of these roadways are at or near failure already today without any new development. Although some of us are San Marcos residents, some county, and some Vista, we are one community. We moved to this neighborhood because of the rural atmosphere with rural residential zoning. For decades, our neighborhood has consisted of large lots, plant nurseries, and families with goats, chickens, pigs, donkeys, and horses. Many of us still raise chickens, have animals, and large vegetable gardens. We have a horse stables attached to a gated community of ranch homes on large lots. We share the little bit of open space with coyotes that we can hear howling at night. There is a 136-unit apartment complex built out decades ago on the San Marcos side of Smilax, across from the proposed development, which is not visible from the street, as they tastefully built it on 15 acres, surrounded by grassy hills and trees, so as to be in alignment with the rural character here. We have a plant nursery at the corner of Smilax and Oleander. Besides these, our valley is composed of single-family homes with residential homes on larger lots predominating, existing next to older ranch homes, all low density. Note here that our neighborhood on this map is a small slice of the North County Subregional Plan, with Vista to the north, west, and south. You can see that our neighborhood is a tiny little county island here just south of Highway 78. The land use and community character analysis fails to mention that the project is inconsistent with the plan's goal to encourage logical city annexation. The project is within the city of Vista's sphere of influence, which will provide water, sewer, and fire services. The City of Vista is on record stating it does not support this density increase based on concerns of potential future annexation. Over recent decades, our valley has become surrounded by higher density development, with apartments and mobile homes on Sycamore and apartments near Rancho Santa Fe. However, these developments are built near large road arterials and thus don't significantly impact our neighborhood. When the business park was built out decades ago, Poinsettia Avenue that connects to Oleander remained a small 2-lane road and now becomes congested with business park and school traffic. The high-density apartments approved by the county planners in the 80s to the north of our neighborhood valley, on the other side of 78, were a planning disaster. They are not built near arterials, and all residents from there must use our small 2-lane roads to commute in and out, which has led to major traffic congestion during rush hours and school drop-off and pickup times, with speeding cars trying to avoid the traffic, utilizing our small, circuitous 2-lane road of Mimosa. This next photo is the sharp curve on Mimosa Avenue. And this was a new fence that the owner had recently put up, which a speeding car smashed into. Note that there are no sidewalks, bike lanes, nor streetlights on Mimosa. Now I want to show you the fallout of the county approving that earlier high-density project. If you follow Smilax north from our neighborhood and go under the freeway, on the left, you find this large 246-unit apartment complex. In this next video, we are heading south on Smilax towards the freeway bridge back towards our neighborhood. Mariposa Apartments are to the right. This footage was taken recently on a Sunday morning. These high-density units have brought major congestion to this side of the freeway. Prior to this, the area was a quiet, low-density neighborhood with single-family homes. Most of these 1- and 2-bedroom apartments have 3 or more car owners. I emphasize these are only 1- and 2-bedroom units. Every evening, parking spills onto all the surrounding roads, with illegal parking often happening, blocking visibility. Think of the poor individual homeowners who live next to this disaster, let alone the poor tenants who have to search for parking every night. Now we're headed back towards our neighborhood on Smilax. Once you pass under the freeway, there is basically no street parking on Smilax because the road is so narrow. This upcoming Smilax-Mimosa intersection is only 250 feet from the project site. Parking on the south side of Mimosa was recently banned due to the danger to pedestrians and blocked visibility for drivers. The need for parking from the apartments spills out onto our neighborhood on Mimosa, a tiny 2-lane road without any sidewalks nor streetlights. This street is very dark at night, and cars left here overnight are frequently vandalized.
Thank you so much, Bill. This is Garth Robbins. Since the Joliet Laytag Elementary School opened in 2008, our neighborhood has experienced major traffic backups. Due to the pandemic and remote learning, we can't really show all of the horrific traffic jams we're used to. But when school is in session, there is no bus service. All the children from the surrounding area either walk or are dropped off by their parents. The planning report claims an advantage to this project is how kids can ride bikes to school. But there is no way that any responsible parent would let their child ride a bike to school here, as Smilax is far too dangerous and lacks bike lanes. Several children have been killed on these roads. Once it's dark, it's particularly dangerous without streetlights. When the school was built, only some sidewalks in the area were added. The 1.5-mile loop around Mimosa Avenue is popular with walkers, but there are no sidewalks. There are no sidewalks on the very narrow Poinsettia Avenue that is very busy with business park traffic, with both cars and illegal semi-trucks. While the developer notes that sidewalks are present on Smilax from the project to the school, This does not address the increased safety risks from hundreds of additional cars to children and pedestrians walking on roads adjoining the project that do not have sidewalks. As noted in the traffic studies, our small roads are already stressed during peak hours to the point of being assigned an LOS of F, which is the worst rating possible. These 3 roads are 2-lane, undivided roads with no plans for expansion, even though their mobility element classification says otherwise. With an estimated additional 500 trips per day resulting from the project, let alone future development, this is too much already. Increasing the density from 2 units per acre to 15, as this project is requesting, is over 6 times the density growth on this parcel. This element alone causes a great deal of conflict and mitigation required to fit in with our neighborhood, which the reports do not adequately address. Also, the planning report justifies approval of the project by projecting that in 14 years, all roads here will be within acceptable LOS parameters because it is assumed that all roads will be built out. Excuse me? There are no plans nor funding for expanding our roads. How can this be ignored? Our existing roadway capacity today is at or near failure. The traffic impact report has manipulated the analysis to favor the development. The assignment of traffic flow across the neighborhood streets was done manually with errors and inaccurate assumptions. There are roadways missing from the traffic report. This project proposes almost no mitigation, a left turn pocket into the project and frontage improvements to one side only. This is completely insufficient. 4 or 5 roadways should be mitigated or widened. How can you approve a project with a 6-fold density increase without considering future additional development? We are absolutely outraged that the cumulative impact of each proposed development on our neighborhood is not being taken into consideration. This piecemeal approach is really hurting us.
Thank you, Garth. This is Maureen Hudson. Because of our experience with the Mariposa apartment tenants, we know there will be overflow parking from this project. The project's proposed 2 parking spaces for each unit plus 30 guest parking spaces is not enough. There is no provision for off-site parking because there is none. These are 3-bedroom units, some with an extra loft, so quite likely there will be 3 or more drivers in each unit. Remember, in the local apartments, there are multiple tenants sharing 1- and 2-bedroom units. With proposed prices starting in the mid-500,000, it is likely that many of these units will be rented to multiple tenants with 3 or more cars per unit. You must consider the increased safety threat that results from this overflow parking. That's going to be made worse by the project's density. Residents that live in the apartments routinely park half a mile or more away down Mimosa. It is extremely unsafe now for those residents to walk back to their apartments, especially at night. A 60-year-old woman walking her dog on Smilex just a few feet from the Mimosa intersection was a victim of a fatal hit and run. Just imagine what another 500 daily trips in and out of one driveway will do. The high-density Mariposa apartment project should be an example of what not to do. Zone a high-density project in a low-density neighborhood with no parking, no circulation, no compatibility with the adjacent neighborhood. This is directly connected to the crime, hit-and-run fatalities, auto accidents, theft, and misuse of apartments for doubled-up rentals. It is a regional planning and development created nightmare. We need long-term plans and improvements that will meet neighborhood impacts and benefit our community, not add to the current problems.
In closing, this project is a direct threat to our neighborhood. If the project was in compliance with existing zoning, there would be 9 units proposed. There would be no problem with this density, and the impacts of this project would fit into the existing neighborhood without any issues. A project that complies with existing zoning would be welcome in our neighborhood. We cannot accept the impacts of this 6-fold density increase as proposed. Don't set this kind of precedent in our already stressed, underrepresented community on this county island. We are the ones who will live with the consequences of your decision for decades to come. There are additional concerns about stormwater design, drainage, and soil conditions, which have been submitted via e-comment and warrant further review. The developer does not and cannot support all of the infrastructure that would be required to mitigate the proposed impacts, regardless of what the manipulated traffic study concludes. Please be our voice today and vote no, or at minimum, table this project to allow for a team effort of discussion and mitigation of the project to fit into this neighborhood with a long-term community plan. We have a neighborhood team ready and willing to coordinate with the developer and staff for a more appropriate and less dense project here. We thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the individual speaker.
Thank you. I'll be calling the speakers by the last 4 digits of your phone number, so please press *6 to unmute yourself when you hear your number, and then as a reminder, please state your name for the audio record when you begin. Our first speaker is 5432. 5432.
Hi there, my name is Thomas Hudson, which is off of Mimosa. 16 of our residents showed up online for the November 2020 Planning Commission hearing, waiting 2.5 hours on a workday to speak. We were a small number of the hundreds of residents against this general plan change to increase density here. We were grateful to be heard, but dismayed that only one commissioner voted against this project after hearing our concerns. Although the others expressed commiseration with our obvious plight, they went ahead and put the needs of the developers above the hundreds of long-term residents here. Quote, saying things like, well, there's traffic everywhere in the county. Really? Does that commissioner have trouble getting out of his or her driveway or onto neighborhood streets? We doubt that. We are trusting that you all, as our voted-in representatives, will listen to us without diminishing our very valid pleas. As I've walked our streets informing my neighbors of this project, I've heard many of them express disheartening and discouraging beliefs that go something like this. Well, the decision has already been bought and paid for. The donors with the big monies are the influencers. The wishes of the people don't matter anymore. We who are showing up today don't believe this. Please listen to us and be our advocates for protecting our neighborhoods from piecemeal density increases done without community input. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9507. 9507.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Donna Crum. Thank you so much for taking my call. I would like to address the lack of parking and the safety concerns regarding the parking. The 2 designated parking spaces for a 3-bedroom townhome is not enough, even though it is within the required mandate. Even with extra guest parking, it's still not adequate. And we all know that from the apartment buildings that surround this area. There's friends that visit, babysitters, family gatherings, workmen, house cleaners, gardeners. The 500 vehicles moving in and out is very low from what will actually happen. There's going to be young families with teenagers and young adults driving. What about the owners who choose to rent out their whole unit or their 3rd bedroom? This is going to mean 3 or more drivers per unit, and they're only allowing 2 per unit. You emphasize this out of, practical concerns, and the regulations mandate just doesn't clearly show what's really happening out here. It's outdated and inadequate. There is literally no more public parking on the road, and there is not going to be enough parking in the system or the project that they're setting up. I find it hard to believe that the project can require owners to have only 2 cars and require owners to only park in the garages. How can they do that? When you live in a unit with CC&Rs and you call the sheriff, they say, we can't enforce CC&Rs. I don't understand how this is the answer to this problem. The parking issue is not being exaggerated by us. It is real and it needs to be heard, and it's going to cause dangerous consequences to the pedestrians and increase crime. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1875. 1875.
My name is Jeff Everett. I'm a 33-year resident at 908 Ramos Avenue. I am part of the equestrian center that was built back in 1978 at using the VR2 zoning. My concerns surround the traffic, which is a serious problem here, and I'm a little concerned about staff making a statement that it's really not the concern of staff as to off-site problems such as the roadways and some of the concerns about the drainage that we also have. Traffic is a serious problem. I've sent a couple emails to the supervisors about recent changes in the traffic out here. The traffic studies were done in 2018 and 2019. And recently we had Amazon open a delivery super center out at the corner of Poinsettia and Business Park, which is sending delivery vans down Poinsettia every day, which is increasing the amount of traffic coming into this area right now. And also on the off-site drainage problems that we're having that flow down Diaonde Creek, which is coming off of the proposed development site at Smilax. And we understand it's the best available information when they do these reports, but the report needs to be updated, and we cannot touch the creek itself because it's protected by Fish and Game, but the creeks aren't being cleaned out, and the way they're dumping the drainage coming off site is going to come right back into these creeks, and it's going to back up, and it's going to having flooding problems to all downstream sites. So we'd like you to take a relook at that if you would, please. So the only party benefiting from the zoning change is going to be the developer, and we would ask that you look at that and look at that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7532. 7532.
Hello, this is Ken Knight. I've been living here 44 years on Mimosa Avenue. KB Homes proudly proclaims on their website, making a difference in the communities we build, and that they, quote, build up the communities we build in. Build up. How about overbuild? The bottom line, this is the bottom line, everybody. Selling 9 homes, which it would be zoned for, on half-acre lots for $800,000 would be about $7 million. But if they can push for a rezone, selling 62 units for $550,000 would yield $34 million. Any questions? But they still won't put in sidewalks to keep their future residents safe. Being involved in this project, I've come to see really how cynical people have become. People have said we're wasting our time because they're going to win. They got more money. I'm apparently a bit naive because I still believe that each person's vote counts. My question for the board is this. Who do you represent? The thousands of people who live in our little valley community, or the moneyed few, deep pockets, greedy developers who can afford to hire lobbyists to twist your arms to go against we, the people? Please allow us all to once again believe this is not an oligarchy, and that the decision you render is not just all about money. I'm really weary of KB's double talk and twisting the truth for their own interests. They know what's happening here. We all do. We're not asking you to fix pre-existing problems. We just don't want your decisions to make the existing problems even worse for those of us that live here. So I think you should make a giant step toward alleviating the feelings of powerlessness and disillusionment that so many have right now when they see that all that seems to matter is money. This is not compatible with our neighborhood. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7619. 7619. Seven, 619, please press *6 to unmute yourself. If we don't hear from you when your number is called, we'll come back to you. So we will move on to 8558. 8558.
Hello, my name is Jim McBride, and I want to talk more about who actually benefits from this project, and 3 minutes doesn't seem to cover it. First, we are an island community surrounded by high density with its problems and industry. Our common interest is living in a low density neighborhood. The primary element of a con is persuasion covered by deception. Or I should say perception covered by deception. KB Homes has pushed this project as fast as it can to avoid any feedback. Its paper approach leaves out info, misinformation, and important issues such as a hard driving rain from public water draining from Smilex Road via a new drain pipe at the entrance of the project, mixing with 5 acres of private water runoff from the project, overflowing the basin and cascading into the Poinsettia Avenue, a dirt road, and flooding private property. With easement for this runoff 300 to 400 feet through private property to the Buena Creek on Mimosa Avenue. This project should have never gotten this far without a drainage plan and an easement through private property. At every issue brought up in private meetings, a deeper examination of all the issues, parking, traffic, soil, flooding private property, and crime, will dispute KB's version of the simple facts. This high-density project doesn't fit into a low-density community, but destroys our quality of life. So again, who benefits? San Diego County has more than enough zoned land to accommodate affordable housing without rezoning a small, established, low-density community. This already has affordable housing. I pulled closed housing sales over the past 2 years and found examples of houses selling at and below what KB Homes is offering.
We'll move on to our next caller, 6678. 6678.
Hello, my name is Celeste Della Victoria. We were told that it's too bad that a community planning group wasn't established. I ask you, how are we supposed to even know that we needed a community group when we didn't even know about the project in the first place? The county staff only notified 30 residents and only 18 people showed up for the meeting in February 2020. This is not a planning group. Only a fraction of us heard about this project just 4 months ago in November 2020. Me and a very small group of concerned neighbors personally sent out 625 postcards to notify our neighbors, which has resulted in over 500 signatures on our petition opposing this project. If the county was serious about involving the community, they would have helped us create a planning group, which up to this point has just been ignored after many, many, many requests via email and phone call. Why does the county staff ignore the recommendation of the city of Vista where we live? It doesn't make any sense to ignore the fact that the city does not support this project. Why would the county create a headache for us to be annexed in the future? This project is just not right. It's too dense. Just look at the developments that have been successful and perfect for our area. We are not opposed to development. We welcome new neighbors. Other projects such as the development at the Northwood Apartments, projects on East Matt Lane, Hidden Meadows, and the Rancho Vista Estates have all successfully integrated into our neighborhood. We would welcome these types of projects These developers took our neighborhood into consideration and didn't try to force high-density rezoning and cram as many housing units in as possible, but rather they created homes that added to our area and a bonus for us all. I ask you to please vote no on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5600. 5600. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. And again, if we don't hear from you when your number is called, we will come back to you. Our next caller is 9339. 9339. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. My name is Denise McGehee. Thank you for hearing this. I live just in the city of Vista on the borderline of the county. And my concern is if this project were to go through, is there a study of per capita population and first responders, law enforcement, fire, EMT, and the like? And in line with traffic, although Business Park is not part of this development, the big rigs that travel from the Business Park area Vista on Oleander are a big concern. And maybe the county and the city of Vista can get together and possibly put a restriction for weight and size of vehicles traveling on Oleander that use it as a shortcut to Rancho Santa Fe and Sycamore Avenue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll go back to 7619. 7619. Please press *6 to unmute yourself if you'd like to address the board. Either 7619 or 5600. Well,
So this is Mark. I'm with the Vista Fire Department. I'm not here to speak on it, just in case you have any questions.
Oh, thank you. So we also have a number of members of the applicants team on the call. So if any of them would like to address the board during public comment, if you could please press *9 to raise your hand in Zoom and we can call on you. Again, if any members of the applicants team who are not part of the video presentation would like to address the board, please press *9 to raise your hand in Zoom and we can call on you. And also last call for 7619. 7619. If you would like to address the board, please press *6 to unmute yourself. So Chair Fletcher, we're not seeing any activity from the applicants or from the one remaining caller who has not yet addressed the board. So that appears to conclude public testimony on this item.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to board deliberation on this item. I want to start with Supervisor Desmond. This project is in his district, and so I think appropriate we hear from him first. Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. And I'd like to thank all the people who called in on this item. And I'll tell you, I'd be happy to help form a sponsor group. We haven't had that many requests at all for a sponsor group, but we could either form a new one or combine, people in this neighborhood into an existing one. Be happy to go in that effort. And I've received numerous correspondence, both in support and in opposition on this item. And we do have a housing shortage in San Diego County. I would like to state, though, for the record, that I did visit the site to review the current condition and the surrounding area. I did not interact with anybody from the public or anyone from the applicant's side. I was there alone with a staff member, and we went and looked at the property. And we heard, and we've heard concerns related to parking, crime, bulk and scale, and traffic. Notably, the the Sprinter stations. One of them is 1.3 miles away, another one 2 miles away. One of the things that I always try to look for in a general plan amendment, which this is a big general plan amendment, going from 9 homes to 62 homes, is if we're going to allow a general plan amendment, that there should be a benefit to the community, because the community did think this property had 9 homes, which would be, or is what it's zoned for, to be there. And they based, purchasing their property and all their plans and everything else on that particular zoning. And for somebody to come in and change that zoning should at least bring a benefit to the area. So staff did explain that although it's not required to improve the surrounding roads to alleviate traffic congestion, I just want to ask a quick question of the applicant, and then I got some more comments. But if the applicant be willing to contribute money to help alleviate congestion in the area.
Yeah, this is Steve Ruffner, President, Regional Manager for KB Home Coastal. Good morning, Supervisor and Supervisor Desmond. Yes, we would be willing to help all we can. Unfortunately, because of the size of our project, we can't solve all the problems. But we would be willing to make a contribution that maybe would allow the county to do some traffic improvements. We've already spoken to staff about adding speed limit signs to Smilax, as well as electronic travel signs that show your speed when you're traveling, working with the city of San Marcos for that. So yes, we would totally be willing to put up a payment to the county to, at their wish, to a traffic improvement project. And that payment would be at your discretion where you want it to go.
Okay, thank you. And then just further comment, the project exceeds the parking requirements, and I believe that there is enough parking according to county requirements. Each unit gets 2 parking spots in the garage, and there's a total of 30 guest parking spots. It will also be conditioned to include the requirements in the CCRs, as was mentioned, that the property owners use their garages as parking spaces. So I understand that it's kind of difficult to enforce, and for that reason, I'll make a motion at the end of this, but I'd like to add a condition. I will be adding a condition that requires the garages to have windows. So at least the HOA has a chance to monitor the use of the garages. As far as crime was mentioned, I think home ownership, there's pride in home ownership, and generally families that move into a neighborhood, such as this, hopefully crime would be reduced. There's more people watching over the neighborhood. There's also an opportunity to be part of a neighborhood watch program. And I'd be willing to ask law enforcement to up the patrols in the region if we ever get if there's an increase in crime. The project is an infill project, and it's a block away from the Leech Tag Elementary School on River Valley and the River Valley Church. Directly to the east on the other side of Smilax is a large apartment complex in the city of San Marcos, zoned at 20 units per acre. Directly to the north of the 78, there's multifamily, mixed use, and commercial development. And on my site visit, I went out and I confirmed there are sidewalks that lead all the way from this proposed development to the elementary school. However, that intersection is where I think we could use the traffic by the intersection by the elementary school is where we could use some traffic improvements for safety for the children and help alleviate some of the traffic there as well. But this area is near existing infrastructure, including the 78 and the bus stop we mentioned and the Sprinter stations. But so traffic's the biggest concern that we've heard today, and it's usually the biggest concern everywhere. The project is conditioned, as the applicant said, to install speed radar signs on the surrounding roads. Unfortunately, roads in this area have been congested primarily due to the early pickup and drop off at the elementary school. And many families that live in this project will be able to walk their kids to the existing schools and using the sidewalks. Staff has analyzed the surrounding roads to identify that the intersection of Poinsettia and Oleander, right by the school, does warrant a traffic light. Even though the project contributes less than 1% of the overall traffic congestion, and therefore we can't require the developer to install that light, but if we can get the developer, as he said, they would make a contribution to that traffic light. And if we can do that, probably not pay for the full traffic light, make a contribution to that. I'll also then be coming back and asking my colleagues to help support a future county contribution to fully fund the construction of that signal right by the elementary school. So I'll go ahead with a motion here to approve the project as outlined in the staff's recommendation and add the following conditions to the site plan. That prior to the approval of the building permits, the building plan shall include windows on each garage to allow the HOA to confirm the cars are being parked in their garages. And prior to issuance of the building permits, the applicant would contribute $250,000 toward the design of a traffic signal at the intersection of Oleander and Poinsettia Avenue, directly adjacent to the elementary school. So that would be one motion. I'd like to have a second motion, if it's okay, and we can take them separately, Mr. Chair, however you want. But I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to come back to the board within 90 days with options on how to fund the remaining amount for the construction of that traffic light at the elementary school intersection. So 2 motions there. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the time and to be able to address the issues.
Yeah, Supervisor Desmond, I think if it's okay with you, we would just encompass this all in one motion, basically just adding these as additional recommendations, and we could do it all.
The reason I separated is we can't. The first motion is on the developer. I don't really wanted to make a motion with the county coming back to us a requirement on the development motion. So that's why I separated them out so that we can't really hold up the applicant for the county to come back with options.
Yeah, but I don't think it would. Let me ask the clerk or county staff. It seems like we could do all this in one vote. Is that doable?
I'll defer to county counsel.
Chair Fletcher, yes, you could do it all in one vote. Just for the last recommendation related to the 90-day return, just make clear that that is for staff to return.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, so I'm happy to second that motion. So essentially what we have is adopting the recommendations contained in the board letter to move forward with this project with the addition that prior to the approval of the building permits, the developer will show a plan to install windows in the garages on site. And prior to the issuance of the building permit, the applicant will contribute $250,000 to the design of a traffic signal. Separate from that is directing county staff to come back to the Board of Supervisors within 90 days with plans and options for construction of that traffic signal. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Let's see, I think we'll have I have some comments on this, but let me see if any of my colleagues want to speak first. Supervisor Vargas.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. So I appreciate that this development is actually net zero carbon and all electric. So I wanted to say that I think this is what we should be doing. And I do understand that we don't have inclusionary housing in the county right now, yet our county does not have a deficit in market rate housing. Instead, we have a deficit in affordable housing. And I know that we have no official way as a county to request developers to prioritize first-time home buyers. I did want to ask if it's appropriate, KB Homes a few questions, and so I wanted to go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so, thank you. So I understand from their presentation and all of the information that I read that you have defined these as workforce housing, and have made some projections as to why they're not affordable housing. But I want to know, what are the things that you are doing to prioritize working families, increasing opportunities for them to be the first-time home buyers in this development, and maybe lowering HOA and interest fees to make it more accessible? And could you commit to prioritizing the sale of these homes to first-time home buyers and working with our families in the region?
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Vargas. This is Steve Ruffner with KB Home. Yes, we do focus on the first-time buyer at KB. You can see that on our website, as well as we built a project that was an exact duplicate, basically, of this in Vista, called the Sierra Project. And we did get a majority of the buyers, 65% of the buyers are first-time buyers. We also had single people without children and a lot of various different demographics bought the homes. We were 20% Latino, and a lot of teachers, military, first-time responders, as well as people in the service industry. Those families were able to buy the homes in a similar price range that we hope to be. So I believe that we will attract the first-time buyers. There is definitely a need for lower-end housing that the middle class and first-time buyers can afford in the county of San Diego. So we're very focused on that. That's basically why we chose this location and this type of product. Our density as a two-story allows for a little backyard for each family to have their own private space, which we think will attract more first-time buyers also.
Thank you so much. I was just going to say that, this is something that's really important to me. Building homes for working families is one of my priorities, for the next couple of years that I'm going to be here. And I do want to say thank you to all the folks who provided their feedback. And I think Supervisor Desmond's recommendations, I think, will help alleviate some of the transportation issues. And so I will go ahead and support this issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Vargas. Let's go to Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Thank you so much. I think I first want to thank the time of everyone who took time to prepare this presentation, which was very thorough. And I just want to comment on a few points. One, I am very happy to see that this project will give nearly 70 families the opportunity to live across the street from a school and within a 5-minute bike ride of transit and a local employment center. And I appreciate that all the units have rooftop solar and it's got EV chargers in every garage. So I think that is very much going in the right direction as to where we want to see housing go. I would like to see some kind of deed restricted affordable housing, but obviously that's not something we've done yet as a county, and it's on us for not having adopted inclusionary or other affordable housing policies. So, I hope that my colleagues will be working with me moving forward to have a more comprehensive and strategic approach to supporting inclusionary and affordable housing projects. So I think that is something that we definitely do need to be looking at. I do have one question. It's regarding the concern around bike lanes. This is a question for county staff. Is there anything that we could do regarding this project in particular to support safe bike transit near this development?
Supervisor Lawson-Remer through the chair. The roads in this primary area are located within the city of San Marcos. So the county staff will work with the city to see if there's anything that we could do to add bike lanes along these roads. However, there's a lot of constraints associated with the roads in the area. A lot of homes are located in very close proximity to the edge of the right-of-way, so expanding them to add bike lanes would be difficult. But we will work with the city to see if there's any opportunities there to add bike lanes to the Sprinter station and the nearby school.
I think that would be great. I don't know that needs a formal amendment, but certainly a request on county staff to, in addition to sort of working on traffic lights, that we also work on alleviating the concerns the residents mentioned regarding safe biking, particularly when we're thinking about kids getting to and from school.
Got it. All right, thank you. I appreciate everyone who called in today. I wish every housing project that came before us looked like this one. It would make it so much easier to build housing if folks who came before us with locations that are near transit are willing to offer free transit passes to the folks that are there. Came to us with projects with no natural gas hookups, not just with electric vehicle charging infrastructure, but with actual chargers put in place. If they brought us projects with low VMT, minimal traffic impacts, infill development, housing projects that are near schools and businesses and retail, I think this is exactly the type of project that we need. Townhomes type efforts are smaller, they are more affordable. Of course, we've got to develop an inclusionary ordinance, and we will do that for the future, but these projects are certainly much more affordable than just about anything I can remember seeing come before us. And so no matter where you put housing, you're always going to get some concerns, and you know, you're adding something to a place where there's presently not something. And so, you know, I understand, and I'm not dismissing the concerns there, but I think this is a really good project. And I think this is a step forward, and my hope would be that this could really become a model for other types of efforts that we need to do so we can increase the density of housing in the right place, in the right way, and built and constructed. So I want to commend everyone who's been working on this project, and been pleased to join in supporting this effort. So we have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, a second by myself, to adopt the recommendations outlined in the agenda item with the 3 additions that we have articulated twice. With that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Agenda item 2, we have a request from staff to continue this item to March 17th. We'll put a motion on the table to continue it to March 17th and see if there's a second. And then I do think it's appropriate we hear from the public speakers who called in on this item.
I'll second it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by myself, a second by Supervisor Anderson to continue this item to March 17th. Let me ask the clerk to call forward the speakers, and then we can come back with any board comments or questions.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Also note for the record that we received 60 e-comments on this item. We have 4 individuals that have requested to speak in this item. Some members of the public that requested to speak in item 2, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your line. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record, and they will have 2 minutes to address the board. Callers will hear this sound when their time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. Aaron, if you could please identify the first caller.
Thank you. Our first caller is 7228. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Michael Tatini.
Hello. You may proceed.
I don't have any comments.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Our next speaker is 4170. 4170.
Good morning. My name is Donna Tisdale. I'm the chair of the Boulevard Planning Group, president of the nonprofit Backcountry Against Dumps, and a 44-year resident whose property abuts the 1/2 mile common boundary with Terrigen's Campa Wind project that will be enabled by Boulder Brush. I just want to let you know that our community planning group has strongly opposed this project and the related projects numerous times. I'm hoping you do continue this, but I also want to bring to your attention that the FAA Southern California Traffic Approach Control objected to Campa wind turbines due to significant negative impacts on aviation safety and operations. We found that through a Freedom of Information Act. They have remanded their previous approval. Reconsideration is pending. A federal lawsuit challenging the Bureau of Indian Affairs approvals is also pending. Numerous Campo tribal members, in fact, a majority of their voting members have opposed this project, but their leadership refused to hear their petitions or vote on them or to hear their petitions to recall their leaders. This is not a project that you want to support. I hope that you get on the right side of it and vote no when this comes forward again. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3277. 3277.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. This is Ted Griswold, Procopio Corey. I represent the Campo Band of Mission Indians. I'm available for comments in the event that Chairman Marcus Cuero does not have connection service at the reservation. Sometimes it's a bit spotty, but I understand he has called in. I'll stay on the line in case there are any questions. The tribe does support the continuance.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2532. 2532.
Hi, this is Amy Fuller. I'm the permitting director at Terrigen. We have an our entire team here today on the line. If the board has any questions for us, there are a number of attendees. So I'm here we are all here if there are questions, but I don't have anything to raise to speak at this moment.
Great, thank you. Our next speaker is 9046. 9046.
This is Marcus Cuero. I do have a brief statement. I would just like to say that the tribe is in support of the extension to allow for the completion of an agreement between Terrigen and labor groups. We believe the project provides a positive job opportunity to our tribe as well as labor groups, and we look forward to ensuring that these opportunities come to fruition. The tribe supports the Boulder Brush facilities as it's important to the realization of the tribe's previous approval of the Campo Wind project. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, I think, also a member of the applicants team, 1080. 1080. And 1080, if you had anything you'd like to add, you can press *6 to unmute yourself now.
This is Craig Pospish with the applicant. I don't have any comments, but I'm here to address any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. We also have 0704 from the applicants team, 0704.
This is Felipe Scattegui, also with the applicant, available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8428. 8428, also with the applicants team.
Good morning. This is Ben Doyle with the applicant. I'm here and available to answer questions should they be asked.
And I believe that is everyone who has called in on item 2. There may be one other, 5976. 5976, are you calling to address the board on item number 2? If so, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Tammy Harbin. I'm also here to answer any questions on behalf of the applicant.
Great, thank you. So that concludes public testimony on this item, Chair Fletcher.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to continue this item to March 17th. Let me ask my colleagues if they have any questions. All right, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We will now move to agenda item 3, the Almonte River Valley, an action brought forward by myself and Supervisor Anderson. Let me start with Supervisor Anderson, see if he has any introductory comments that he would like to make on this item.
I'm just delighted that the board was so forthcoming. You know, that property was an absolute blight. And with this money, it will be restored to its pristine nature, that people will be able to enjoy it and hike through it. And I'm very excited about this. So I'm deeply appreciative of my colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson. I would just add to this. I think this is a great project. I think it has a number of benefits, not just for Supervisor Anderson's district, but for the entire region. This can be a wonderful regional asset, but of particular importance, it also helps us with another step completing the San Diego River Park. This is the vision of 52 miles of interconnected walkways and bikeways all the way from Ocean Beach into the mountains. This is an incredible opportunity. And this is one piece of that puzzle, a section of that that we can complete. And we made the investment to purchase the property, and I think making the investment to make it a wonderful place for our community is an appropriate step. So I will take Supervisor Anderson's comments as a motion, which I will second. Let me ask the clerk if there are any requests for public comment on this, and then we'll come back to the board.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Yes, we have one group presentation and then 8 individuals that have requested to address the board on this item. Also note for the record that we received 29 e-comments on this item. Any members of the public that requested to speak on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record. For the group, you will have 15 minutes to address the board. For the individual speakers, you will have 2 minutes to address the board. You'll hear the sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I'd remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Aaron, if we could please identify the group at this time.
We're still waiting for 2 members of the group to call in. So while we wait for the rest of the group to join, we can start taking some individual speakers. So we will call our first individual speaker 6770. 6770. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. If not, we'll move on to 7641. 7641. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Well, we will try 2643. 2643.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hey.
You may proceed with addressing the board on this item if you'd like.
Okay, how could you guys, supervisors, Nathan Fletcher and all the group. Hi, my name is Bobby Wallace. I'm a Lakeside resident and member of the Barona Band of Mission Indians. And I wanted to call in and talk about the Valley a little bit. As you know, the Valley was homeland for my ancestors, and my DNA is probably scattered through that valley in bones and, you know, cremation sites or whatever. And the San Diego River is actually one of the main stomping grounds of our people. Getting to the El Monte Valley, you know, with this land that was acquired, me and many of my tribal member friends and relatives would like it to stay pristine, or as is right now, with the incorporation of other native species to the valley, and you know, do some upgrades on that. But the main thing is ground disturbance. You know, if you guys could find it within yourself, not to let anybody do any ground disturbance there, that would be great, because there are cremation sites throughout the valley. And, you know, it kind of is a little bit disrespectful to my ancestors and my people. You know, if you could keep that in mind. The Lakeside American Little League, you know, those guys are, you know, my kid played for them, you know, and it's a great place, and restoration, a little bit of that. And the Valley, you know, would really, really, really be great. You know, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that Mother has been bleeding for way too long, and we have to kind of ease up on her a little bit. So if you guys could help us out and, you know, not let any ground disturbance, that would be great, because in 20 years, we don't want somebody out there digging up stuff. So, thank you very much. And by the way, I liked our people over there. They got to say hi to you guys for the address of the city of San Diego. So thank you very much. Much love and respect, you guys. Take care.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8046. 8046.
Good morning, supervisors. This is Noah Harris with Climate Action Campaign and a member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. We are thankful that the county has acquired this land for conservation, and we are eager to help support the restoration and development of the park. We stand with Kumeyaay and East County activists in requesting that the park be restored and protected in a way that honors San Diego's native landscape and Kumeyaay heritage, and does not allow for the possibility of utilizing the land for sand mining or other projects destructive to this land. To do so, we have 3 recommendations. 1, extinguish subsurface rights, also known as mineral rights, for all 98 acres of the land. 2, put all land that is not part of the baseball complex into conservation easement. And finally, commit to collaborating with the local community, including Kumeyaay activists who have been working to preserve this land in all decision-making, restoration, and park design. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7749. 7749.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Connor Franklin Ray. I'm a volunteer with Sunrise Movement San Diego, which is a member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. We are thankful to the County of San Diego that has acquired this land for conservation, and we're here to help support the restoration and development of the park. But we also stand with Kumeyaay and East County activists in requesting that the park be restored and protected that honors San Diego's native landscape and Kumeyaay heritage. It does not allow for the possibility of utilizing the land for sand mining or other extractive and destructive processes to this land and projects. To do so, we have the following 3 recommendations: extinguish subsurface rights, also known as mineral rights, for all 98 acres. 2, put land that is not part of the baseball complex into a conservation easement. And 3, commit to collaborating with the local communities, specifically Kumeyaay activists who have been working to preserve this land in all decision-making, restoration, and park design. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It looks like we have the members of the group who have joined the call now, so we will unmute you and then pull up your PowerPoint. So we have 4624, 0637, and 7484. So if you could all press *6 to unmute yourselves, we'll let you know when the PowerPoint is ready. And then if you can please tell us next slide when you'd like your slides advanced. So we are ready with your PowerPoint. We're having trouble hearing you, 0637. It looks like you may have some volume issues on your end.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. We lost you again, 0637. Is there another member of your group who might be able to start the presentation?
If I may, please.
Sure.
Yeah, Robin Reardon has the presentation and we're just waiting on her.
In that case, we'll continue calling the individual speakers and we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next individual speaker is 6770. 6770.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Great. Hi, this is Rick Bates, and I'm with Unite Here Local 30, which is also a member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. And we are a diverse union comprised largely of women, immigrants, and people of color. And we just want to go on the record as being supportive of our brother Bobby Wallace, and we stand together with the Kumeyaay people. And really just want to say that we agree with everything that's already been said. And we just want to register our support. Thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3613. 3613.
Hi, my name is Terry Robinson. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am the chapter chair of the Climate Reality Project San Diego chapter. We are also a proud member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. We are in support of the restoration facilities improvements in El Monte Valley. We also stand with the Kumeyaay activists in requesting that the park be restored and developed in a way that honors San Diego's native landscape and the Kumeyaay heritage and does not, for any reason, allow for the possibility of utilizing the land for sand mining or other projects destructive to this land. The Kumeyaay people have nurtured and cared for these lands for thousands of years. Please act on their requests as they truly know these lands the best and the best way to protect them for generations to come. Our brother Bobby Wallace has been in this for many years and many decades, and we absolutely respect and support whatever he's asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2953. 2953.
Hey, good morning, supervisors. My name is Alexander Hahn, and I'm a volunteer of the Sunrise Movement and also part of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. So I do want to just reiterate what everyone else has been saying. We are all standing behind Bobby Wallace, and we support the Kumeyaay in every single way because they are the stewardess of the land. They've been here for generations, and the least we can do for justice is to respect this and allow them to lead on preserving the land. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7641. 7641.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Okay, hello. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is Malika Marsden calling in on behalf of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance, a coalition of 51 organizations and small businesses dedicated to a zero carbon region in a way that creates good union jobs and more just communities. Yesterday, we submitted a letter regarding our comments and recommendations for this item, where we stand with the requests of Kumeyaay and East County activists who are committed to restoring and protecting this land. We recommend amending this item to include extinguishing subservice rights, putting all land that is not part of the baseball complex into a conservation easement, committing to collaborating with the local community, including the Kumeyaay activists who have been working to preserve this land, and including them in all decision-making, restoration, and park design. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2410. 3410. Apologies, 3410.
Hi, my name is Matt Pappalardo. I'm a member of Democratic Socialists of America, and we're also a member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. And I just wanted to reiterate our support for Bobby Wallace and all of the Kumeyaay fighting to protect this land. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1590. 1590.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is Bertha Rodriguez with Climate Action Campaign, which is a member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. We support the restoration and facilities improvements in the Monte River Valley and ask you to commit to collaborating with the community, especially Kumeyaay activists currently working to preserve this land in all decision-making and restoration. Your support on this will illustrate your commitment to the community, equity, and climate action. Thank you.
Thank you. So we don't have any more individuals on the line. We still have 3 group members on the line. We have 4624, 0637, and 7484 are the 3 group members who are currently on the line. So if you'd like to go ahead with your group presentation, now would be the time to go ahead and do that.
Okay, if I may again, this is 7484.
Yes, hello.
Okay, hello. Could you call 619-368-2400 sheet she is online, but she is saying that you don't see her or you can't hear her. Is that possible?
2400, you're saying?
Correct.
We don't have that phone number showing up in our Zoom meeting currently.
Okay, well then, I guess I will just say a few words then for the group.
She just joined. She just joined.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great.
So 2400, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you so much. I apologize for the inconvenience of my technical ineptitude. First of all, we would like to say how incredibly grateful we are to the County Board of Supervisors taking such a leadership position in acquiring this land and funding improvements on it at the very inception of this project. I need you to know that this land is beloved by Lakeside.
I'm going to pause your
Pardon?
I'm going to pause your time. If all of the individuals in the group, if they could please state their name for the record.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Billy Ortiz.
Michelle Hames.
Shore. And Judy Shore.
Okay, you may proceed. Thank you.
It is beloved by our community. It is considered one of the most beautiful riding trails available in our community, and it has the potential to be much, much more. If you could please move to the next slide. We wanted to give you all an idea of the kinds of things that the community has considered as part of the future development of this project. We would like to see create and improve trails that connect from Cactus Park, create a dog park, which is really necessary and needed in Lakeside, remove invasive species and perform restoration on this land, create a safe crossing at Ashwood. That is critical. That is an entirely unsafe road, address homelessness and trash, and improve and refurbish the La Chapa baseball field. I wanted to give you a slide to kind of show you what is out there, because I'm fairly sure most of you have not seen this site. This is the La Chapa baseball field. The county has indicated they want to spend a significant amount of money to improve it. We are fully in support of that. Additionally, to consider the trail. What you see on this slide, the pink are areas where there are kind of trails that need to be readjusted. The red are trails that are already in existence. The blue are potential alignments. And the green space is where we believe the dog park should go. We believe there needs to be a connection to the Flume Trail. And as you can see from the blue line and the pink line and the red line shows what is there right now. The pink line shows where we believe the alignments need to go, but nothing has been done thus far. And quite frankly, it needs further study. Lastly, we'd like to talk about the habitat issues. The county is allocating a significant amount of money. Just yesterday, I got a line on a grant that may be able to go in and do all of that invasive removal for you. So I'd like you to please program money for invasive removal, but be available should this grant prove up to remove all those invasives, be able to reprogram that money for other issues. And finally, I just put the budget together like this. This is absolutely the first time we've ever had the ability to do this. We cannot thank the county enough for allocating this money. It is indeed a beautiful, beautiful segment of the San Diego River and the San Diego River Trail. It has the potential, as one state official once said, to be San Diego's next beach. And we are grateful for your support. And that concludes my presentation.
The group has about 11 minutes remaining if the additional members of the group want to provide testimony during that time frame.
I do.
Great, you may proceed. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Just to reiterate, the East County community is in full support of funding and restoration and improvements of the La Chapa baseball field complex and the San Diego River. We also support the trail system that Robin Reardon mentioned and creating the connection between the parks, which would include any parks in Santee into Lakeside, the Lakeside River Park Conservancy, Cactus Park. There are existing trails already connecting there, on over to the La Chapa Field, and possibly maybe even the Tumbleweed Riding Arena. I'm not sure if that's connected to these properties, but I think it is. And also into create a trail alignment that will connect the Hanson Pond to the historic Flume Trail and over to the La Chapa baseball fields. We firmly believe that these properties could become the grand entry into the beautiful El Monte Valley. And we look forward to working with the county and possibly maybe even some community support, volunteerism to help make this project become a reality. And we thank you very much for your time and all you have done for the East County. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any of the remaining members of the group like to address the board?
Yeah, just real quick. This is Judy Shore. I have a nonprofit, Taylor's Up Foundation, and I supported a dog park down in Borrego Springs a couple years ago. And I just wanted to say that we would want to support that dog park being outside of the sensitive trail area down below in the river bottom. And Taylor's Up is willing to provide volunteers and also financial support for the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the group? 0637, anything to add? If not, then that concludes public testimony on this item. Chair Fletcher.
Thank you. Before we go to our board, I want to ask our staff to clarify a few things. One, there won't be any sand mining taking place on this property that the county is purchasing. And then two, I agree, we need to accommodate the concerns that were raised around being sensitive to the very legitimate and historical concerns of the Kumeyaay. And so I'd like to have staff kind of address those quickly, and then we'll see if we need to change anything to make clear those items.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher and members of the board. We do have a slide that we can pull up that will show loosely how the funding is intended to be spent. Let me first clarify that no mining will take place as part of the restoration plan. The land will be set aside for park recreation and open space purposes only, as well as habitat restoration. On February 10, when your board approved the acquisition, these are the funds that were approved for the initial activities, which included some initial site cleanup and startup equipment for our team to take care of these properties. Next slide, please. And this is a breakdown of the current funding request of $6.4 million. One of our first activities upon taking ownership of the property will be to do an initial technical study, which will provide the guidance specifically for the type and the timing on the habitat restoration, as well as the exact routing and improvements for the trail.
Thank you. Let me go to my colleagues. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Hi, sorry, having trouble getting unmuted here. So just a couple things. First of all, I want to really thank everyone for this work and thank Chair Fletcher and thank Supervisor Anderson for bringing this forward. You know, I was just really moved, I think, by a lot of the folks who testified and want to thank them for taking the time to be here today. I did want to sort of flag some thoughts on ensuring that as we move forward with this item, which I do support, but I have some slight amendments to it, that we make sure that we're really continuing to reflect the spirit and the nature of what this action was originally directed to. There's just been so much commitment and vision of community members in bringing this forward. And so I want to make sure there's really a well-defined process for engaging the community in the design and implementation of all of the projects of the active recreation and the habitat restoration. And would also like to make sure that staff is working closely with the river conservancies, both of Lakeside and San Diego, on all aspects of the river trail and the Cactus County Park Trail. And then I think finally, and most importantly, our stakeholders have been very clear and I think compelling that this is open space to be restored in its natural state for the community to enjoy in perpetuity. And so I think towards that end, my amendment would be to amend the motion and direct staff to record a use restriction against the property to limit the use of property to open space, park and recreational uses, and prohibit mineral or subsurface extractions, mining, or other removal of sand or minerals, except as necessary for habitat restoration purposes.
Can you repeat that one more time, a little slower?
Sure, sorry. Let me, I wrote it down. I said I would like to amend the motion to direct staff to record a use restriction against the property to limit the use of the property.
All right. I'm all for it. We're all
You're in favor, you just want to know what I'm saying.
I just can't write as fast as you're reading, okay? I'm all for it. We have no disagreement on what we're doing. We got to record it so it's in the record. So direct staff.
Well, I mean, let me just say, maybe a better way to do it would be in alignment with staff recommendation to amend the motion and direct staff to record a use restriction against the property to limit the use of the property to open space, park, and recreational uses, and prohibit mineral or subsurface extraction, mining, or other removal of sand or other minerals, except as necessary for habitat restoration purposes.
All right. Did the clerk get that?
I have that language. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I'm happy to accept that. I think it's completely consistent with what we're doing and good that we make clear. Let me ask the maker of the motion if that is okay.
That's fine. The county owns it. I mean, county's buying this. There's no chance of that happening. So this is an easy amendment to accept.
Got it. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other board member comments? All right. Will the clerk call the roll?
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right, we're gonna, item 4 was withdrawn by our supervisors who brought it forward. We do have 2 public speakers who wanted to speak on the item. So we're just gonna briefly treat this as kind of non-agendized public comment because it's been removed from the agenda. But I certainly wanna make sure that they have an opportunity to have their voices heard. So I'm gonna ask the clerk to call the 2 speakers if they're with us who wanted to speak on item 4. We will hear from them. There's no action for the board to consider. And then we will move on with our agenda after we hear from the speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Yes, those individuals that requested to speak on item 4, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. I see that we have 1 individual ready to go. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and please state your name for the audio record. Aaron, if you could please identify the callers.
Yes, our first caller is 9364. 9364. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. (9364). While we wait for 9364, we also have 2694 who has joined. So 2694, if you'd like to proceed.
Oh, hello. So my name is JP Teverge. I'm calling in on behalf of Grow the San Diego Way. We're a coalition of conservation-minded, pro-housing, pro-environment advocates for a better San Diego region. In Spanish, we go by Juntos Crecemos San Diego. Last year, our prior Board of Supervisors chose a path of climate denial by approving a VMT methodology that would essentially negate the entire purpose of SB 743, which is to reduce transportation emissions which are the largest contributor to greenhouse emissions in the state and in the San Diego region. The unincorporated county has the highest VMTs and the most GHG emissions per capita than any other area in the region, as much as double what we see in the urban areas. It makes sense to create a region-wide VMT baseline that holds both the cities and the unincorporated areas accountable. It is essential to meet our climate goals and state mandates for GHG reduction. SB 743 actually streamlines development processes for projects that are closer to jobs and opportunities. It's not a housing killer, as the industry might like us to believe. In fact, it places a priority over infill, over sprawl. Infill offers more housing per acre, requires less infrastructure expenditures, and can and will generate more housing for more people, especially affordable housing. Projects like the Smilex Homes projects you guys approved this morning would not be impacted by a stricter SB 743 baseline. Sprawl developments in remote areas of the county have not produced one unit of affordable housing in the past 10 years. And even if it were to magically do so, many studies show that the added transportation burden of sprawl impacts working class households and more than offsets those savings. As much as 70% of household budgets can go to housing and transportation when workers are forced to commute longer distances. The climate crisis is real, folks. It's disproportionately impacting disadvantaged communities who do not have the resources to adapt to the effects of climate change. It's called the climate gap. Research is clear. These communities are already being impacted. In California and San Diego and around the world, studies are already showing a correlation between increased mortality and rising average daily temperatures among people of color.
Thank you. Your time.
Thank you very much for your
9364. 9364, would you like to address the board on item 4? So please press star 6. I know you're also our speaker on the next item, which is item 6.
I'm sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. This is Michelle Krug. I apologize. I just strongly want to support us taking a regional view of this. I mean, as previous speaker has spoken, climate change is real. We absolutely have to do everything that we can in order to mitigate this as soon as possible. And the situation of using just the unincorporated areas of vehicle miles traveled is not, it's not legit in that it's not talking about the region and how this is affecting all of our inhabitants living here. So please do the right thing, as I know this Board of Supervisors will do, unlike the last one, and mitigate their actions by using the entire region as our baseline and doing whatever we can as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on this item, Chair Fletcher.
All right, thank you. Thank you to the callers that called in. Let's move now to agenda item 6, approval of revised joint exercise of powers agreement amongst the County of San Diego and City of San Diego for operation and maintenance of Mission Trails Regional Park. I believe we have one speaker on this item. Let's hear from the speaker and then we can come back to the board.
Yes, it's our same speaker, so 9364. 9364, if you'd like to proceed.
Thank you again, Michelle Krug. I actually thought the item had been pulled. I'm speaking in favor of it. I think Mission Trails Park is absolutely one of our jewels of our community. It provides opportunities for people that live in the inner city to get to a place with their kids and their families and enjoy nature and connect with some of the most beautiful aspects of our county. So I'm in support, and thank you for partnering with the City of San Diego. I think the more eyes on this jewel is a good thing. It can only enhance it. So again, in favor, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle, for calling in. Make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from any of my colleagues? Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer. Supervisor Lawson-Remer? Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
We're going to move to agenda item 8, Gillespie Field. There's a request by staff to continue this item to our March 17th, 2021 meeting. I would make a motion to continue the item. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second by Supervisor Anderson. Let's go to our public speakers on this item who did call in. Again, the motion and the second is to continue this item.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I will note for the record that we received 132 e-comments on this item. We have 20 individuals who have requested to address the board in one group presentation. We will begin by calling the group presentation. We will call speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number, and they will hear notification that your call has been unmuted. Speakers will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record. For the group presentation, the individuals will have 15 minutes to address the board. For the individual speakers, they will have 2 minutes to address the board. You'll hear the sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I would remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Aaron, do we have callers ready to go on this one?
We don't. We have, it looks like a couple who may be calling in right now. Yes, we have 5718, 5718. If you'd like to address the board, please press *6 to unmute yourself, 5718.
Hello, this is Phyllis Tromby. I'm speaking in favor of the new 50-year lease at the corner of Weld and Cuyamaca in El Cajon. I live in El Cajon. I was chairwoman of the Gillespie Field Development Council at the time we sent a recommendation to you to approve this lease. This is county airport's owned land designated by the FAA for non-aeronautical use, and it's zoned industrial. We've been marketing this property for more than 10 years in an attempt to find a compatible project consistent with FAA airspace requirements. This project meets those requirements. The project abuts other county airports' owned land on which are industrial parks and industrial strip, and Gillespie Field itself. The MTS trolley stop is diagonally across the street. Revenues from the lease rent will go only into the Airport Enterprise Fund, thereby funding regular maintenance and operations per the FAA grant assurances for self-sustainability of airports. On an aside, I live in the neighborhood that leads into the location of this property. Pre-COVID, I traveled to and through this corner 4 or 5 times a week to access shopping, restaurants, banking, getting gas. I love that this will be a green, LEED certified facility with good paying jobs for local people, not jobs where one has to commute on a freeway for 45 minutes to get to their job like I did for 35 years. The trolley stop is right there, so employees could easily travel to work by trolley. The bonus is that Amazon has pledged to use green and clean vehicles. You might have seen the ad on TV for this. This is a win-win-win for county airport system, cities of El Cajon and Santee, and for my neighborhood because of its compatibility with FAA and the green quality of it. Wow, what a deal. I request your approval for this ground lease. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8569. 8569.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Okay, good. Good morning, Chair Fletcher, Supervisors. My name is Frank Landis, and I am the Conservation Chair for the San Diego chapter of the California Native Plant Society. We were very late in coming to this project, but given the events of the past week, I wanted to bring up some issues to your attention and strongly suggest that you ask a few questions for due diligence. Until last week, the Weld site held the largest population of the MSCP-covered federally endangered Ambrosia pumila. In January, El Cajon authorized these 23,000 plants to be moved, and last Friday they were taken out and transplanted onto land that is quote-unquote managed by the Endangered Habitats Conservancy. There is also a real puzzle that in 2009, the Fish and Wildlife Service issued a biological opinion on translocating a smaller population of ambrosia on the southeast corner of Gillespie Field. but they did not, as far as we can tell, issue a similar BO on this population. This is an FAA governed property and there are changed circumstances, yet there is a claim in the EIR that there is no federal nexus, and the developer apparently had a plan to avoid the ambrosia entirely, even though it was moved. So there's a problem here that we need to get to the bottom of. Here are some questions you may want to ask. One big question is, where are the plants now? Since they're covered by the MSCP, whose jurisdiction are these plants in now? Are they on county-owned land? We don't know that yet. Two is, why did the Fish and Wildlife Service not issue a biological opinion on transplanting ambrosia on this bigger population in Gillespie Field? Third question is, why were these endangered plants moved before everybody had approved the project? Fourth, and most importantly, are there other issues that were not disclosed in the documents given to you? The obvious one to me is that planes failing to take off typically crash right where that grassy field will be turned into a big warehouse. Hopefully that impact was properly analyzed. But I strongly suggest that you ask about the ambrosia and other issues in case the county is assuming responsibility for them by approving this project. I agree that continuing this project is a very good choice, and thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9148. 9148.
Hello, this is Richard Drury representing the Supporters Alliance for Environmental Rights. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Thank you. First, I support the continuance to March 17th. We've submitted a extensive letter today to the board to consider this project, and also we request a supplemental environmental impact report because this project has very significant environmental impacts that have not been properly analyzed or mitigated. The city of El Cajon issued a CEQA addendum in January 2021, but there was no public notice, there was no public hearing, and the addendum was approved by the planning director behind closed doors without any public notice. The city is relying on an environmental impact report that was prepared for a very different project 15 years ago in 2006. But the addendum removes very important mitigation measures that were required by the 2006 EIR. In particular, the project will have significant air quality impacts, yet the addendum removes air quality mitigation number 2 that would have cut the nitrogen oxide emissions in half. As the Native Plant Society mentioned, the site is home to the San Diego ambrosia, which is on the federally endangered species list. There are only 12 colonies of this plant in the world. 2 of them are on this site. The addendum imposes a mitigation measure to relocate those plants, but there's no assurance that that will work. There's no identification of where they will be relocated to or whether the new site will be a proper home for them. The project also admits significant impacts to raptors and impose biological measures 3 and 4, but the addendum eliminates those measures, allowing removal of habitat during the nesting season, which was prohibited by the EIR. By removing these important mitigation measures, a supplemental EIR is required, and we request the county to require that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1771. 1771.
Good morning. My name is William White. Shamefully, I've only learned recently of the scope of an issue that will affect my community. I'm currently the president of Fletcher Hills Highlands Association. We're a large upscale community of 454 single-family homes located in El Cajon near the proposed site for this Amazon distribution center. We are not alone, but instead are just a fraction of the people that live in the surrounding residential areas that will be impacted by this. A large portion of the homeowners living in the Fletcher Hills area use Cuyamaca Street or Weld Boulevard, or both, on a daily basis. A developer has asked to lease the property on the northwest corner of Cuyamaca and Weld, so Amazon can build a 140,000 plus square foot distribution warehouse. I have learned that this warehouse will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Depending on the season, there will be between 230 and 600 vans going in and out every single day. There will also be 21 to 48 line haulers or tractor trailers going in and out every night all night between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. If you add the 400 employees going to and from work every single day, you've got a considerable increase in traffic. The traffic on Cuyamaca Street is already somewhat congested north of the Weld intersection. If this lease is approved, traffic in the area will be more like that of Los Angeles than Santee. Don't expect me to believe that a facility that has well over 1,000 parking spaces will not be an impact on traffic in this area. Additionally, I know there are homes in the city of Santee that abut the property, which is considered, I'm not sure what that was.
Sorry, your time is up, sir, but thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is 9584. 9584. You may proceed.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Sean Martinez, native San Diego, and I actually live in Lincoln Park and supervisor Vargas's district, but partially grew up in East County as a kid. I'm also the Western Region Coordinator for the Teamsters Amazon Project, which means I've had the privilege to work with communities across the country who've dealt with Amazon's impacts when they come into their communities. I can assure you the local residents' concerns about traffic congestion, environmental impact for county residents. 400 jobs is really just a talking point at this point, not a binding commitment. Second, who are these jobs for? Local residents who have to deal with increased traffic and pollution. There's no binding commitment that they'll actually have access to these jobs. Amazon has not made any commitment about who these jobs will go to and that they'll benefit local residents. Third, Amazon's mistreatment of its workers is well documented, and these are not good jobs that allow people to support their families. Amazon's low pay and dangerous working conditions often mean more than 100% yearly turnover as Amazon churns through people with no regard for their health or well-being. Lastly, whatever jobs this facility will bring are effectively replacing future jobs at the post office and UPS, where unionized workers make family-sustaining wages with total compensation as high as 3 times that of Amazon workers. This is economic underdevelopment that this county simply cannot afford. The 50-year lease is effectively a sale of land. We need to get this right. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0655. 0655. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. If we don't hear from you when your number is called, we'll come back to you. Our next speaker is 2206. 2206. 2206. Again, if you don't respond when your number is called, we'll come back to you. Our next speaker is 6465. 6465.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to testify on this matter. My name is Justin Slafley. I am a Santee resident, and I am calling in today to encourage the board to approve this lease. As you know, these distribution centers, it's kind of the new way of doing business and the new way of gaining your goods and things. I know my wife is a frequent shopper of Amazon. I see their vehicles on our streets. As I understand it, this proposal, if it is Amazon, and even if it is a different distributor, would involve converting most of the delivery vans to electric only, EV electric vehicles. Very excited about the potential for that. I think that will reduce emissions and the loads on our city streets, especially in Santee and El Cajon and the area that this would serve. I think that's a great benefit. Additionally, I'm very excited about the potential to reduce delivery vehicles on the dreaded 52 highway. As I commute on that freeway every single day and see all the delivery vehicles going up and over the summit, I think this is a huge opportunity to reduce vehicle miles traveled, reduce emissions, and improve quality of life for all of East County. So I'm very excited about the economic opportunities of this. I'm excited about the sustainability aspects of it, and I'm strongly supportive of this lease. So I hope the board ultimately will support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8941. 8941.
Hello, my name is Dennis Breslin, president of the Gillespie Palace Association. Now, the GPA is absolutely in favor of the proposed development on county-owned airport property, which will generate over $420,000 annually for the Airport Enterprise Fund. There's one thing I think we can all agree on. It's the importance of safety in the design and the operation of our airports. The Airport Enterprise Fund is money set aside for airport improvements, and Gillespie Field is currently undergoing a major construction project. All these projects serve to deplete the AEF, and since it's used to maintain all county airports, it's important to have a way to replenish those funds. For background, Gillespie Field supports 16 fixed base operators, 3 aviation museums, flight schools, business parks, etc. And it's one of the 10 busiest general aviation airports in the country with over 170,000 flight operations annually, including medevac, law enforcement, flight training, etc. And it's the oldest and the largest of county's 8 airports and produces $400 million in annual revenue and generates 3,100 jobs. Now, we believe the lifeblood of any airport is the community it serves, and we enthusiastically support any development that improves revenues earmarked for airport and runway improvement derived from the resources of our airport, especially when it creates jobs. Under normal circumstances, the GPA would support this development on its economic value alone. But with COVID restrictions deeply impacting jobs both at the airport and in our community, it's even more important that we seek jobs that offer better pay and benefits for many who have lost their jobs due to COVID. The so-called Amazon project estimates up to 500 new jobs will be created in a very green and environmentally friendly way. Are the detractors, of course, but the developers made efforts to assuage the concerns for noise and traffic. If allowed, there would be no end to environmental objections. We just think jobs for people are more important than plants or traffic. With a trolley stop right across the street, employees can take the trolley to within a few steps of work. Although complaints reflect the concerns of those living adjacent to the property, they pale in importance to potential job opportunities for many other residents of East County who need jobs. In conclusion, we're grateful for the efforts of the county airports. We believe the positives contained in the proposal and the care taken to mitigate the concerns will make it a win-win for both the county and the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3321. 3321.
Hi, this is Sharon Tolan with Harrison Associates. I'm here to answer any technical questions you have on the air quality, greenhouse gas, or noise technical analyses.
Thank you. We'll go back to 0655. 0655.
Hello, my name is Phil Farias. I'm the president of Teamsters Local 542 and a longtime East County resident. We're very concerned about the proposed 50-year ground lease given Amazon's well-documented track record for bringing pollution, traffic, and unsafe jobs to communities around the country. Until a couple of weeks ago, nobody knew this project was for an Amazon warehouse, and Amazon is still not listed on the agenda. But the county should take into account what type of company and operations this will be because it matters to residents. This Amazon last-minute facility will bring diesel trucks and delivery van traffic to already congested streets like Cuyamaca and already congested freeways like the 52. Most of the diesel truck drivers work by the load, meaning they have to drive and work very fast to make ends meet. Amazon's delivery van drivers' turnover rate and practice of assigning different routes to different drivers every day means that drivers aren't properly trained or are inexperienced and are having constantly to look at their GPS to find their destinations. These are recipes for disaster for our streets, and the safety hazards are well documented. We're happy to provide this documentation to the staff and the board. The bottom line is East County cannot afford what this project will bring. On behalf of the 7,000 Teamster members from Local 542, I urge the Board of Supervisors to reject this ground lease until the developer and Amazon make comments to hire local residents and provide good family-sustaining jobs and mitigate traffic and pollution impacts in the local community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2206. 2206. Please press *6 if you'd like to address the board.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
All right. Good morning. My name is Dave Lagstein, and I'm representing the membership of SEIU Local 221. I do want to say this is my first time that I've had the opportunity to speak to the new board, and perhaps it's too late, but I must add my personal congratulations to Supervisor Lawson-Reber, Supervisor Vargas, and Supervisor Anderson, and also to Chair Fletcher. I can say that so far, I think this board is better than the previous board. In terms of the item, we're here to express our support of the continuance. We were very concerned, as many speakers have said, to learn late in the game that this is apparently an Amazon warehouse, and it wasn't made clear to the public until very recently. Amazon is well known as an employer with a record that's very concerning in terms of their impact on the environment, their low quality jobs, and opposition to the right of workers to organize. This will bring traffic congestion, pollution, and low quality jobs into the region. I also wanted to highlight that we were heartened to see a message from President Biden supporting the right of workers to form a union in Alabama with Amazon. And this is a critically important development to have leadership from the top and locally for workers for the right to organize, given the national impact of Amazon as a leading employer. So we do think it's perfectly appropriate for this board to request a continuance and push for due diligence to assess Amazon's impact on our community, our environment, and our workforce. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2243. 2243. If you'd like to address the board on item 8, please press *6 to unmute yourself now. If not, we also have several members of the representatives of the applicants available. We have 5848, 4109, and...
Hello, can you hear me? This is Terry Bingham.
Oh, hello.
2 weeks ago, hello, this is Terry Bingham. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. 2 weeks ago, the New York Attorney General sued Amazon because, and I quote, Amazon's flagrant disregard for health and safety requirements has threatened serious illness and grave harm to the thousands of workers in these facilities and poses a continued substantial and specific danger to the public health. The New York Attorney General believes Amazon warehouses, such as the one proposed, endanger the public by failing to comply with COVID-19 protocols. According to California scientists, the new COVID 27-29 mutation in Los Angeles will account for 90% of all COVID cases in LA by the end of March. It is more contagious, deadly, and more resistant to vaccine than COVID-19. Should this mutation spread to San Diego, it will cost us millions more to contain than this proposed lease could bring in taxes. We need the thousands of jobs workers lost during COVID back. We need COVID contained. Voters are opposed to this mega warehouse, which would spread COVID and clog freeways with semis. We already have an Amazon warehouse in Poway. We don't want one to change the character of El Cajon to an industrial hub. Foothills Church is across the road from Gillespie, and it would interfere with their worship. Foothills does a lot for East County and does not need a construction zone in their backyard. Indoor COVID super spreader warehouses are the business model of the past. Local residents oppose this. Amazon sellers profit more from shipping directly from their safe home businesses. Amazon has a merchant fulfilled ship from home program that allows sellers to warehouse and sell their inventory from home. Indoor COVID super spreader warehouses are the business model of the past, as I said. Local residents oppose this. Please keep us safe from this unwanted lease. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll turn to the applicant and their representatives. So we have 5848, 4109, and 6210.
This is Lee Chestnut with the last numbers 4109. Am I able to speak? I am the applicant.
Yes, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been listening in to the comments, and I do want to say that there's obviously a lot of talk about the possibility of Amazon being in on this project. I do want to tell everyone that's been commenting that I have no signed lease. I do not have an agreement with Amazon, and it is something that is not in place at this point. I would also like to say that I have personally worked with the county attempting to develop this property beginning 5 years ago with an effort to enter into an agreement with the county, and that my goals have been and still are to position the property for appropriate industrial uses that are approvable on the site, and that we are moving the project forward with a ground lease for 50 years that is with me personally. And I have every intent to develop the property in a way that it meets all requirements and standards. And lastly, I do understand that the county administration has requested a continuance on the matter because of a technical challenge on CEQA, which I am officially wanting to support the county's request to continue our ground lease consideration until the March 17th board hearing. I do want to make a statement that I'm absolutely confident that our environmental work has been done by the book, and I have no concerns about the issues that have been raised in terms of revealing that we haven't done things appropriately. I understand a lot of the concerns and essentially drama that's going on behind the scenes of the project, but we have taken great effort and extra effort to investigate all of these issues and do everything by the book. So I have confidence that we will be viewed in that light as we come back in 2 weeks.
Thank you. And would anyone else from the group like to address the board at this time, either 5848 or 6210?
I think we're good on my team.
Great.
Thank you to all of the Board of Supervisors. We do appreciate the consideration and look forward to regrouping in a couple weeks.
Great, thank you. Then that concludes public testimony on this item. Chair Fletcher.
Great, thank you. Thank you to everyone who called in. We have a motion by myself, a second by Supervisor Anderson to continue this item to March 17th. Let me ask my colleagues if they have any questions or comments.
I have a couple comments.
Okay.
I definitely support the motion to continue this item. Just stepping back, we're at a critical moment in our country, from a pandemic to a recession, to an ever-increasing need for more housing. We really need to think about the long-term impact economically of any potential employer in our region. And we must ensure we're investing in our communities in a way that builds a stronger county, and ensuring that the jobs we bring allow workers to afford to pay their rent, mortgage, food, and thrive. A 50-year lease to any tenant will impact generations of San Diegans, and we want to prevent a race to the bottom where families are forced to choose between medicine and the water bill. When we invest as a county, it needs to work for all our residents. And this isn't just about the environment or noise abatement, but also about the quality of jobs individuals need in order to contribute to our local economy and thrive. We absolutely welcome, as a county, tenants and employers who are committed to protecting workers on the job, allowing families to thrive and have health care. So I support the motion to pause and ensure we've looked at the best uses of the land. And if it is going to be a job hub, let's ensure we engage in best practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other board member comments or questions? Supervisor Anderson.
For many of my colleagues, I would invite you to come and see the location. The second poorest city in San Diego County is El Cajon. These are jobs that are near El Cajon that give people a chance at equity, a chance that They don't have to live in their car. They might be able to afford rent after they lost their job to COVID-19. You know, we keep talking about how we want to lift people in our community, but if we continue to kill every job that's possible, I don't know how people can take us in any kind of serious light. We know that the VMT is lowered. Those vehicles are, you know, these are jobs close to home that take cars off the 52 and improve the quality of life. So as we move forward over the next couple of weeks looking at this, I want to make sure that we take in consideration the equity that we keep promising to the poor when this actually lifts the poor in my district. So thank you very much, and I ask for an aye vote on the continuation.
Thank you, Supervisor Anderson. We have a motion and a second. Not seeing any additional comments from my colleagues. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right, I think we can take up item 10 before we break for lunch. So let's go to 10. This is the Agriculture Conservation Easement PACE Program Guidelines. Let me ask if there is a staff presentation on this item. I'm not sure.
Yes, there will be a presentation, Chair Fletcher.
All right, cool. Let's give them a second to get set, and then once they're set, we will do staff presentation here from our speakers and then come back to the board.
While staff is getting settled, any members of the public that requested to speak on item 10, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher and Supervisors. I'm Rami Talley with Planning and Development Services, and I'm joined today by Chelsea Oakes. Today we'll present an overview of the proposed changes to the county's PACE program guidelines. The PACE program conserves privately owned agricultural lands within the unincorporated area in perpetuity. The proposed changes will make more landowners eligible to apply to the program and adjust how applications are evaluated for participation in the program. This is a request for the board to adopt the updated PACE program guidelines. By way of background, the board adopted the county's general plan in 2011. At that time, large areas of land received density reductions, thus reducing landowners' development potential. The PACE program was established to provide one-time compensation to affected agricultural landowners in exchange for granting the county an easement on their property. A pilot PACE program began in 2012 and was established as a permanent program in 2014. The program supports continued agriculture in the county by conserving water, land, and other resources for agricultural production, reducing greenhouse gas emissions by reducing future residential development, and contributing to food security in the region. Since the program's inception, 2,405 acres of agricultural lands have been preserved with approximately $6.5 million in compensation to landowners. The county's 2018 Climate Action Plan included a measure to acquire agricultural easements through an expanded PACE program. To achieve the county's goal to support the agricultural industry and climate planning, several recommendations have been prepared. These include expanding the PACE program eligibility criteria, establishing an easement monitoring program, adjusting the application ranking criteria to prioritize specific benefits of the program, and making minor changes to add clarity to the program guidelines. Currently, to be eligible for the PACE program, a property must be actively farmed or ranched for a minimum of 2 years prior to applying for the program, have realized a reduction in density during the 2011 General Plan update, and had the ability to subdivide under the previous general plan. During recent application cycles, approximately 30% of those interested were unable to participate as they did not meet these general plan update eligibility requirements. This limitation has led to a decrease in the number of applications received from 60 applications during the pilot program in 2012 to only 12 applications in 2020 application cycle. 2 changes are recommended to the program eligibility criteria. The first, to remove the general plan requirements, and second, add new eligibility criteria, which focuses on the zoning designations listed on this slide. These zones provide opportunities for agricultural crop production in areas compatible with surrounding land uses. Properties would still be required to be actively farmed or ranched for a minimum of 2 years immediately prior to applying for the PACE program. PACE program eligibility is currently restricted to just over 101,000 acres based on those properties affected by the 2011 General Plan update. The proposed eligibility criteria would increase the eligible acreage by 6-fold to over 628,000 acres based on the proposed eligible zoning designations. Currently, the PACE program does not include an easement monitoring component, making the county ineligible to apply for the federal and state agricultural preservation grant funding. The proposed easement monitoring component would run on a repeating 5-year cycle using an annual monitoring worksheet. This will allow the county to ensure the property's agricultural and open space values are preserved in compliance with the terms of the PACE easement.
To ensure that PACE program applications are reviewed consistently, applications are evaluated and scored using the ranking criteria outlined in the program guidelines. 3 individual ranking factors were established during the PACE pilot program: general plan density reduction, agricultural importance, and contribution to the Multiple Species Conservation Plan, or MSCP. Each factor is weighted using a multiplier that adjusts the factor's emphasis. The density reduction realized as a result of the 2011 General Plan update is currently the primary consideration used for ranking applications and holds the largest weight when assessing an application's total score. Staff recommends removing this factor to transition the PACE program's focus to agricultural sustainability and other land preservation benefits. Since the PACE program preserves agricultural lands in perpetuity, it is recommended that the agricultural importance of a property have a greater emphasis when ranking applications by increasing its weight to better support long-term sustainable agriculture. The MSCP designation is currently used to determine if preservation of a property would contribute to the preserves outlined in the adopted South County Plan and draft North and East County plans. This factor was intended to consider the contributions PACE properties may have to the county's open space network. After discussions with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, it is recommended that the MSCP ranking factor be adjusted to instead focus on properties adjacent to preserved lands to serve as a wildlife buffer between preservation and development. To support the county's climate action planning, sustainability, and conservation efforts, 3 new ranking factors are recommended: GHG emissions reduction, compatibility with land use patterns, and voluntary best management practices. Agricultural easements placed under the PACE program reduce GHG emissions by preserving land that could otherwise be developed. To ensure progress towards achieving the goals of the CAP, staff recommends the addition of a new ranking factor to consider the GHG emissions reduction when land is preserved. To balance this ranking factor, the addition of a new ranking factor is recommended to evaluate a property's compatibility with land use patterns by looking at current transportation and development trends. This will ensure that PACE easements do not occur in high-density areas or interfere with the county's housing affordability efforts. The addition of a new ranking factor that incentivizes best management practices to reduce interference with wildlife movement is recommended, as some landowners have expressed interest in protecting endangered and threatened species that appear on their lands. Landowners willing to perform these best management practices would agree to additional terms within their PACE easement. The weight of an individual factor can be adjusted using multipliers to change the overall scoring of applications and allows the county to select properties that support different PACE program benefits. Based on the recommended changes to the ranking factors, 5 options have been identified for board consideration: equal emphasis on all ranking factors, agricultural importance emphasis, GHG emissions reduction emphasis, wildlife conservation emphasis, and board-directed weighted factors. Each option assigns multipliers to the individual ranking factors that correspond with the separate benefits of the program. Should the board wish to emphasize more than one benefit of the program, option 5 can be used to adjust the multipliers and assign them to each ranking factor individually. Option 1, equal emphasis, is a balanced approach that allows for equal consideration of all ranking factors when selecting applicants for participation in the program. This option would ensure all factors are equally considered when selecting properties for preservation. Option 2, agricultural importance emphasis, focuses on the agricultural resources of individual properties, including their climate, water, and soil quality. Staff recommends emphasizing the agricultural viability of a property to ensure properties chosen for participation have the resources needed to sustain successful agricultural uses in perpetuity. In addition, the PACE Mitigation Bank is intended to mitigate for significant important agricultural resources. Focusing easement acquisitions on properties with the greatest agricultural resources will strengthen this mitigation tool. Option 3, GHG emissions reduction emphasis, focuses on the preservation of properties that would achieve the greatest GHG emissions by lowering the number of allowable dwelling units of an individual property. Because staff anticipates the largest GHG reductions would occur in high-density areas, this option also includes an emphasis on the land use compatibility ranking factor. Option 4, wildlife conservation emphasis, focuses on properties that would contribute as a buffer between preserved lands and development areas and prioritize applicants willing to implement best management practices for wildlife conservation. This option would support the county's wildlife conservation efforts and the planned open space network of the county's MSCP. Option 5 provides an opportunity for the board to modify any of the previous options. Multipliers can be assigned to each ranking factor individually to prioritize more than one benefit of the program. A public review period was held for the PACE program update from November 16th to December 18th, 2020. Notification of the public review period was sent to the community planning and sponsor groups and to nearly 9,000 members of the public that represent a variety of interests. These included agricultural stakeholders such as the San Diego Farm Bureau, California Cattlemen's Association, and many of the region's wineries, environmental stakeholders such as the Sierra Club and Endangered Habitats League, development stakeholders such as the Building Industry Association, and individual landowners within the unincorporated area. Follow-up notices were also sent to remind stakeholders of the upcoming virtual webinars and included a link to the county's website where the update materials could be reviewed. Individual presentations were not requested by any CPSG, nor was formal action taken. A presentation was requested by the San Diego County Farm Bureau's Board of Directors and was provided on December 3rd to approximately 30 attendees. 2 virtual public webinars were held and attended by a total of 19 individuals, including representatives of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, the City of Oceanside, Building Industry Association, environmental and engineering consulting firms, wineries, and individual landowners. Staff requests that the board find that the proposed program update is exempt from CEQA, adopt the updated PACE program guidelines, direct staff to implement the updated PACE application ranking criteria, and direct staff to implement ranking criteria option 2 to focus easement acquisitions on land with the highest agricultural value. This concludes our presentation, and staff is available to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Let's I'm gonna ask the clerk if we have, I believe we have a few requests to speak on this item.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Yes, we have 4 individuals that have requested to speak on this item. Also note that we received 1 e-comment on this item. We'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of the phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record, and you'll have 2 minutes to address the board. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I'd remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Aaron, if we could please identify the first caller.
Our first caller is 2750. 2750.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, members of the board, Dan Silver, Endangered Habitats League. We generally concur with these well thought through recommendations on eligibility changes, MSCP factors, and so on, particularly the emphasis on agricultural importance in the ranking. We are concerned, however, about the 2 dual balancing factors that have to do with land use and vehicle miles traveled. First, points are given for easements in close-in locations. Then, to balance that, points are given for easements with the opposite characteristic, those in more remote areas. There are rather complicated metrics being proposed, including density, including as a surrogate for VMT. Then the second factor uses VMT more directly in terms of the efficiency areas. So the whole thing is rather complicated. I don't really understand how it's going to work. And it's getting a bit far afield from the main purpose here, which is agricultural preservation. So we suggest either eliminating these 2 factors or perhaps using them hypothetically for a couple of years just to see how they would influence the results. If you do keep the factors, though, I would recommend adding an additional emphasis to the agricultural factor to make it 3 points, because after all, that's what the program's all about, and we don't really want extraneous things interfering with it too much. So those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8569. 8569.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Oh, good. Good morning, Chairman Fletcher, Supervisors. This is Frank Landis again. I'm the Conservation Chair for the San Diego chapter of the California Native Plant Society. We support the PACE program, and also we support EHL's comments on it. Of the options for ranking criteria presented, option 2 does make the most sense, but we also support EHL's proposal to add in MSCP benefits as the second most important factor behind agriculture, which perhaps could be given 3 points. And I'd like to explain why this makes sense. The United Nations has a program to create global biosphere reserves. UN biosphere reserves have a standard 2-part design. In the center is the core habitat where the most sensitive species live and human visitation to the core is minimized. This is surrounded by a buffer area where human land use is compatible with protecting the core are allowed. Outside the buffer is everything else. In San Diego, far too many of our protected spaces in the MSCP are naked core habitat with no buffer around them whatsoever. We have sensitive species stuck next to shopping malls and growing out of the cracks in the pavement, and this is not good. The PACE program would provide a valuable buffer. To the Republican supervisors, this is important. We're not interested in taking ag lands and rewilding them. We need more and better buffers, and that's what the PACE program incentivizes. The ag lands also benefit from ecosystem services such as native pollinators that live in the MSCP. Prioritizing ag lands that most benefit the MSCP therefore makes the most sense, and we hope you take up the suggestion perhaps as option 5. Thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5195. 5195.
Good morning. This is Jim Whalen from J. Whalen Associates. I'm not sure because of the time lag if the photograph I sent over made it or not, but hopefully it did. First of all, I want to thank staff for doing a great job on the balancing act that this program takes. We represent Warner Springs Ranch Resort, a legacy small unincorporated town with a storied history. We support the staff recommendation, which is option 2, with its emphasis on agricultural importance. Warner Springs Ranch is undergoing the permitting process now for a unique infill-based community oriented around the existing resort, the existing golf course, and the country town. However, open space is the key project feature with agriculture around the margins. Restoration of the past winery and grape brewing is part of the plan, and the PACE program is a perfect gesture of government support for Warner Springs, and we urge your support, as is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on this item. Chair Fletcher.
Thank you. Before I go to my colleagues, a question for staff. If you could walk through as it relates to option 2, if you were to make agricultural importance a factor of 3, what are your thoughts on adding an MSCP component, or is that what is presently listed as contribution as a wildlife buffer?
Supervisor, the MSCP component is the contribution as a wildlife buffer.
Wildlife buffer. Okay, that was what I thought. Okay, let me go to my colleagues and see if we have any thoughts, if they have any thoughts or questions. Supervisor Vargas?
Yes, so I wanted to say that I agree with the recommended updates of to the purchase of the agricultural, the PACE program. And for the ranking of the criteria options, I agree with staff recommending to begin with option 2, the agricultural importance emphasis. And I would like to see if we can consider integrating option 4, right, the wildlife conservation element along with it. The reason for this is that the goal for option 4 places emphasis on properties that support the county's wildlife conservation efforts and can serve as a buffer between preserved lands and development areas. So it is my understanding that option 3, the GHG emissions reducing emphasis, only considers emissions reductions from lowering of the number of allowable dwelling units and not necessarily from assessing GHG reductions, correct?
Supervisor, through the chair, yes, the calculation of GHG reductions would be based on the number of units that would be essentially extinguished by placement of the easement.
Okay, And so in this case, then I will point this out because it's already a secondary result of the program, whereby increasing the easement acquisition, it will achieve the GHG emission reductions. And so, you know, I would like to support that we adopt the updated PACE program guidelines and to move forward with ranking criteria option 2 and with one of the ranking factors from option 4. So then the contribution is a wildlife buffer sector. Could that be done?
Supervisor, through the chair, yes.
Okay.
So, Nora, it's basically just taking contribution as a wildlife buffer and making that a 2 instead of a 1 in option 2?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm tracking.
So it would be 3, 2, 1, 1, 1.
Got it.
Would that be considered option 5 then, Chair?
It wouldn't matter. It could just be an amended option 2.
Okay.
So basically, it would be a motion to do option 2 with changing agricultural importance to a factor of 3.
Yeah.
Contribution as a wildlife buffer to a factor of 2, and leaving the remaining at 1.
And then, yes. And then it'd be great if we can get updated from staff on updated criteria to see how it's ranking will affect the program implementation as we move forward. I don't know what that process is, but you know, it would be good to have that as well at some point.
Okay. So to continue the discussion, we've got a motion from yourself and a second by me to adopt option 2 with agricultural importance being bumped up to a 3 and the factor contribution as a wildlife buffer bumped to 2. And then the others remaining at 1. All right, let's, we have a motion and a second on that. Let's see if we have any other board member comments. Supervisor Anderson.
I can support that.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
Support that as well. So.
Okay, good. Hearing no one else, motion by Supervisor Vargas, second by myself. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We are going to take a brief recess for lunch. Why don't we come back at 12:40? We will reconvene and we will tackle agenda item 11. And we will come back renewed and refreshed after lunch and ready to go on item 11. So I will see you all back at 12:40.
Chair Fletcher, before the board adjourns for the recess, I just want to clarify for the record that action includes the staff recommendations for item 10.
That is correct. Yes. The staff recommendations plus those options.
Yes,
that is
great.
correct.
Thank you.